Hello, welcome and good evening ladies and gentlemen to another pair of rounds of racing in the one and only Flat 6 Fast and Frantic series hosted by UKSimRacing, and that is of course the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup Season 10, and we are here today for rounds 2 and 3 as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC known as iRacing. And what a venue we have in store today, for we started off the season last week in the United States of America and we are making a brief detour into continental Europe, particularly to Belgium, but not for Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. No, we're going for everybody's second favourite Belgian circuit, I should say, and perhaps the circuit that's most overshadowed by its neighbour, and that is the one and only a Circuit Zolder, previously known as Circuit Talaman. And this circuit, located in the Limburg region of Belgium, is most oftenly known for its three rather mischievous chicanes. Three chicanes of varying apexes and approach speeds, and it is a circuit where consistency is absolutely key. But the chicanes having high curbs and indeed unsettling cars, even with our Porsche 992s, it makes that consistency ever trickier to find. But added to that, the number of sweeping corners this circuit also has to its array, 11 corners in total, and what it means for our drivers here, it's going to be just about as much about corner entry as it is going to be about corner exit and carrying the speed from corner to corner. And with there only being short straights connecting all the corners together, indeed the longest stretch of tarmac in the straight line being the start-finish straight, it means that overtaking opportunities around here are going to be down to mistakes and putting pressure on just as much as they're going to be about being bold under braking. And with overtaking being so difficult at Circuit Zolder, qualifying is going to be absolutely critical. However, keep in mind that the fastest driver over a single lap in qualifying may not be the fastest driver over the race if they can't keep it together under pressure, and that's where the consistency element comes back into the fight, and that's what makes Circuit Zolder such a terrific and tantalising circuit for some classic Porsche Cup racing. But as we welcome you to this broadcast live from Circuit Side, you may be tuning in by one of two official media platforms for your viewing pleasure right now, and of course we are bringing this broadcast to you live from Circuit Side firstly by the official UKSimRacing YouTube channel, and welcome to you guys and girls on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and search for UKSimRacing, but also we need to say hello to you guys and girls tuning via Twitch at twitch.tv/UKSimRacing. And well, regardless of what media platform you're tuning in from, we can see you all in the YouTube or the Twitch chat, including there Damien Black in the YouTube chat who's cheering on at Bruno Bratica, who'll be introducing very shortly, and also Revo there in the YouTube chat who's wishing the best luck to DCW Racing. But as we get ready to go race today in the commentary booth, bringing you all the racing action, if myself, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Paul Walsh, also known as TX11 or Brit in a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on, and I'll be bringing you all your racing action for this season. And well, speaking of the season, let's take a look at that calendar once again. And we started off at the Virginia International Raceway last week on the 4th of April, but wind the clock forward and we are here today on the 11th of April at Circuit Zolder for our first heat and feature double-header combination. After today, we're making our way back to stateside and having a double-header in terms of weeks of racing in the US of A to wrap up what is our visits to the United States of America, of which we've got 3 visits, with rounds 4 and 5 next week being at the Road America circuit, a classic when it comes to road racing in the US of A in the picturesque Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin circuit, now being the 18th of April. And on the 25th of April we wrap up the first half of the season with our second endurance race round of the season, now be at the Sebring International Raceway, with the bumps and bounces of the old school concrete on the tarmac, and indeed the asphalt as well around the circuit will catch up many of our drivers, and the suspensions are going to take an absolute pounding as they bring the first half of the season to a close. But after that, we'll have our first and only mid-season break week, and we'll return for the second half of the season on the 9th of May, and we will be making our second visit to Belgium, and we will be making our visit to perhaps the more infamous Belgian circuit at that point, and it will be for a heat and feature combination around 7 and 8, and with the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, an absolute favourite with our drivers up and down the paddock. We'll then be making our way up for round number 9 to neighbouring Germany for the Nürburgring Combined. It's back for this season, of course, after featuring and being a predominant feature on the calendar for season number 9, and that'll be on the 16th of May for an endurance race round. And then in rounds 10 and 11, in our penultimate week of racing, we'll have our final heat and feature combination round. That'll be the Autodromo International del Mugello, making its way onto the calendar for the first time in the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup's history, having only been introduced to the iRacing service quite recently in 2024. And that pair of rounds, I should say, is going to be on the 23rd of May. Then we bring it all to a close and bring the curtain down, and it's quite poetic that we're going to be seeing the racing conclude at Circuit Zandvoort, the Dutch circuit playing host, on the 30th of May. And of course, it was our season opener in season 9, and it's going to be our season closer in season 10 with round 12 of 12. So an absolutely packed calendar and an absolutely packed grid to go with it. But let's give you an update on the championship standings after what was one round of racing, and we start off with the gold class. And as we can see here, Patrik Thomsen leads the way for Apex Racing Academy on 40 points, 3 clear of Impulse Racing's Philipp Hammer. However, it was a race of 3 sections last time out. at the Virginia International Raceway with pole position to Patrik Thomsen. He was able to lead the way for a good part, but initially being chased down by Afonso Souto, the Olympus Esports Vulcan driver, who kept the pressure all the way on for the first half of the race. But then we did have the safety car, which mixed things up, and we saw Patrik Thomsen remain at the front of the field, albeit having some pressure levied on him by the likes of Corey Lazarus, also Souto, and also we got to see Daniel Sedgwick also try a new strategy, but it didn't quite work out. And in the final third of the race, we got to see Philipp Hammer put the pressure onto Thomsen, but the Apex Racing Academy driver didn't give up at any point and stayed ahead to take home the checker flag. That's why Hammer sits in P2 for Impulse Racing. You can never count him out as he chases his 5th driver's title. And then Corey Lazarus, were a late charge through the field for Blackout OPR, takes P3 currently. It affects Simulations Emil Koopmans. Afonso Souto completes your top 5, but keep your eyes out for the Olympus Esports Vulcan driver today, in the fact that we're expecting him to potentially look to bounce back and take a podium here, and in at least one, if not both of the races. And then James Parker, P6 for ATEC Racing, ahead of Daniel Sedgwick and David van der Waals, the Olympus Esports Titan drivers there, who had it all go wrong for them at midway through the race on strategy. It didn't quite work out, but still there's plenty of rounds to make up for that. Then Ryan Walker, P9 there for Satellite Racing. And last 5 drivers with points on the board. 9 drivers were in attendance, of course, at VIR and made it to the end of the racing, with Matt Strand being the 10th driver, but unfortunately a major technical issue on the car. Only 6 laps in, saw the car buried in the wall coming out of turn 6, and that's why he's got 0 points, as he wasn't able to make the half race distance. We'll be having the debut today of both Bruno Bottica for Old Duty Cars and also Effect Simulations Tim Darracott. And we should point out that Olympus Esports has been split into 2 sub-teams for the remainder of the season. You've got Olympus Esports Titan, which will have Dan Sedgwick and David van der Waals, and you'll also have there what will be in the other team, Olympus Esports Vulcan, Afonso Souto. And it brings us over to the silver class, where we can see the other member of the team is top in the standings, and that is Connor Craven. Speaking of his story in the silver class championship, he led the way at VIR despite pressure being levied on him multiple times by Alistair Pollock and David Biggerdike, and also Paul Halliday to throw into the mix. But it was the case that our veterans of the class seemed to struggle, whereas our newcomers of Craven and Pollock seemed to thrive. For the ATEC Racing sign driver just behind in P2, switching from privateer status to the official outfit as of this pair of rounds, and David Biggerdike, the privateer, in P3. You can never quite count him out. The null pointers, Paul Halliday moves to P4 in what was a major recovery drive at VIR, ahead of Joel Duton. Then it's Craig Shield just missing out in the top 5 there, ahead of Owen Halliday, with Glenn Humberstone, Sean Dobie and Danny Weston completing your top 10. Now all drivers have got points on the board, and our 3 drivers without points: Guy Kiley out with his early retirement at VIR, Jason Mumford, who wasn't on the grid at last time if my memory serves me correctly, a newcomer to the grid today. He's been on the grid for multiple seasons in the past, but he makes his season 10 debut tonight, and that'll be Alistair Hatcher for 88 Tech Racing. And now we come on to the Teams Championships, and here we can see Olympus Esports Vulcan lead the way, and the combination of Craven and Souto doing an absolutely stellar job last time out of VIR, and they're ahead of ATEC Racing Sion by the best part of what is 9 points there, with Sean Dobie and Craig Schill holding strong. Null pointers sit P3 currently a further 2 points behind the Halliday brothers there of Paul and Owen, with ATEC Racing and Olympus Esports Titan completing your top 5. It's over 3 points to Apex Racing Academy, the sole driver, of course, Patrik Thomsen. And then we have Philipp Hammer for Impulse Racing P7, Corey Lazarus Blackout OPR P8 ahead of Effect Simulations, Koopmans and Darracott, and expect them to leap up the field today if both drivers can get a major pair of results on the board, and then the wrong stuff complete your top 10 on 29 points. It's further 12 down to Satellite Racing, DCW Racing, who complete the teams we've had points in there against their name. And then we do have Racing Lab Esports, and also what is their own duty cars yet to score any point and looking to do so tonight. But then coming on to our circuit for today, well, we mentioned it only months ago, let's give it a formal introduction. It's Circuit Zolder's Grand Prix Circuit, located in Heusden Zolder, the Limburg region of Belgium, and previously known as Circuit Solarman in reference to the locality. This circuit, as you can see from the circuit map provided by iRacing.com, and thank you to iRacing for their brilliant simulator and the track mats that come with it, is a very unique circuit in terms of its layout. Indeed, it has a weird symmetry to it, albeit that symmetry being broken up when you consider the locale of the certain corners and the chicanes of the circuit. As the drivers roar their way around here, it's going to be a very heavily encouraged sprint, stop, brake and restart style of race, in the fact you've got short straights at each and every corner, heavy braking zones predominantly around the circuit, and every time you count those corners, it's the charge to the next corner, and that's what makes this an absolutely hair-raising circuit to go racing at, for the simple reason you don't get time to get a breather here. As our drivers charge their way in towards Erster corner at turn number 1, making their way through the sweeping left-hander, they need to quickly bring the car to the left-hand side to open up Sternbach Box at turn number 2, and as they make their way for the late Apex right-hander, it's flat out through Canal Box at turn 3 to set our drivers up for Lucian Bianchi Box at turn number 4. Through the right-hander, the right-hander will be a sweeping corner. They'll make their way onto the mid-stretch up towards Kleiner Chicane, the first of 3 chicanes at turn number 5. The left into right chicane, seeing our drivers make their way uphill into Butter at turn number 65. the downhill drop through the left-hander and in towards the braking zone at Alarm box, the second chicane at turn number 7. It'll be right, left there as they sweep the way out and start to make the way up towards Boulder Bagage. Goodness me, let me get this right, ladies and gentlemen. Boulder Bagage Spiel box in turn at number 8. We got it right the third time of asking as our drivers make the way out of the right-hand hairpin. They'll make the way for Jochen Rink box, the small chicane, albeit not an official chicane, a bit of a teaser, if you will. They'll go flat out through turn number 9 and make the way heavy onto the brakes to Jackie box at turn number 10 to complete the lap and do it all over again. And well, if that doesn't get you blood racing, I don't know what will. And let's give you a quick reminder of the rules for this pair of rounds, because of course we are in the heat and feature combination. There will be a qualifying session tonight, but it'll be a lone qualifying format, and drivers will have 3 laps or 12 minutes, whichever expires first, to set their best possible time. But there's no overtime, and the clock strikes 12 minutes, that's your lot. Race-wise, the race shall commence by a standing start, with the heat race grid being set based on results of qualifying, and the feature race grid that follows being a partial reverse grid based on results of the heat race, but the top 10 positions will be inverted. That means your 10th place finisher in the heat race will start on pole for the purposes of the feature race. Meanwhile, your winner of what is the heat race will start P10, and those who finish P11 downwards in the heat race, well, that's exactly where they start for the purposes of the feature race. And there are no mandatory pit stops at any point. We are expecting our drivers to do both races on a single tank of gas, and with the tyres available to them, and one fast repair is available in each race. And the driver shall receive a drive-through penalty if they accumulate 15 or more instant points. But that's enough rules, regulation, everything between. You're all here for the racing, and so are we. And well, let's tell you a little bit about our schedule for tonight. Times in Greenwich, well, not Greenwich Mean Time anymore. We've had British Summertime shift things forward. In British Summertime it is, and Universal Coordinate Time +1, or UTC +1. And as we can see, in just under 2 minutes time, we're making our way into the qualifying session. 12 minutes in nature, 3 laps apiece for each of our drivers before they make the way to the grid for the round number 2 heat race. 12 minutes in length. It's a very short race indeed. It's arguably the ultimate sprint on the grid, and our drivers need to be very quick fire off the grid if they want to make those places nice and early on. And then we're taking a brief breather before returning for round number 3, the feature race. 30 minutes in duration, 2.5 times the length of the heat race, and I'll be expected to get underway just after what will be at 8:25 this evening. And well, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. It is going to be a thrilling pair of races at this circuit, and well, when you consider it's just shy of 4 kilometres in length, or just the best part of 2.5 miles, it's a relatively short circuit. The lap time being incredibly fast, 1.5 minutes. And well, as we do look to Daniel Sedgwick as he makes his way down the start-finish straight, one of many drivers who know all about how this circuit flows and ebbs and weaves its way around the local scenery, and when he makes his way to the pit lane. Let's introduce some new drivers to the grid today, and indeed news to the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup. Here is the old dudes in cars driver from Portugal, racing in the gold class, Bruno Batica. Welcome into the grid, ladies and gentlemen. We see Daz Sharples there, also cheering on at Bruno, making his league debut, as he says, go old dudes in cars. And of course, Daz Sharples being one to watch out for in the YouTube chat, and racing in the UKSimRacing GT3 League on Sundays for old dudes in cars. Indeed, everywhere you look, ODC are roaring high, and well, they may be old dudes in cars, but don't underestimate them. I can definitely tell you that. But we also say hello there to Matty Helenius too in the Twitch chat, who I believe may be cheering someone on, but I can't quite discern what the emoji there does say. Well, from Bruno Batica, we also do need to introduce another driver in the gold class, and that is Tim Darracott. In fact, we will do that in qualifying because he's not currently in the car, and you can't see the Effect Simulations driver out there at this time. But as the drivers roar their way around, we also have the return of a stalwart veteran in the silver class, and that is Alistair Hatcher for 88 Tech Racing in the 19 from the United Kingdom. And we look forward to seeing how he gets on today as he makes his way down towards the Kleiner chicane. And well, it wouldn't quite be the same if we didn't have Hatcher on the grid. There's no doubt about it. But we've now got an Alistair and also an Alistair in the silver class, one with an I after the L and the other with an A after the L. And well, if that's not confusing with regards to spend, the point is it's going to be the battle of the two Alistairs, if you will. And we look forward to seeing how that plays out between Hatcher and Pollock, and plenty more stories to unfold today and indeed over the course of the season. But right now, practice is over. It's time to go into qualifying, and who is going to put it on pole for the purposes of our first heat race of the season? Well, you know what time it is. It's time for us to find out. So as our drivers head into qualifying, 12 minutes of lone qualifying. And for the uninitiated, what is lone qualifying, I hear you ask? Well, lone qualifying is where all the drivers have access to the circuit. However, it's an isolated instance of the circuit, so they don't get to see any of their fellow competitors out in the circuit, and therefore they have complete peace and quiet, if you will, to be able to put in those laps. Well, we can't really say it's quiet, given the fact you've got the roar of the Porsche 992 Cup engine roaring its way all the way up to 9,000 RPM. But you get the point here in the fact that our drivers are undisturbed, and with 3 laps available to them, plus plus their out laps, so technically 4 laps if you will, it does mean that our drivers have a few opportunities. However, the big talking point about this qualifying session, when I was doing a little bit of searching down in the paddock and trying to catch up with some of the drivers, the big talking point has been around track limits here, particularly with regards to all 3 chicanes. The track limits at Circuit Zolder, with respect to the Kleiner chicane, which you're seeing Owen Halliday in the Rexy Mobile make his way on through there. Well, if you cut those apex curves too high, you're going to end up unsettling the car, and you're also going to pick up a 1x or a track limit infringement for your penalty. And with that means your lap is entirely disallowed. And the same applies going on through Hitam and box at turns at what is 7 or 7A through to 7C and D, and therefore that's going to be on the minds of our drivers. If anybody wants to push it too hard, they may just find themselves having all their laps disallowed, and that could see some big names starting further down the order. Indeed, could you imagine if we had last week's winner of Patrik Thomsen, and we see here for Apex Racing Academy, if he gets it wrong in qualifying, he has to start from the back. Well, I don't disagree that he's going to be able to cut his way through the field given his relative pace, but even the very best on the grid have their limits in terms of where they can make overtakes happen and where those overtakes are nigh on impossible. And that is, of course, the big change for our drivers here. Do they go all in and try and set a perfect lap, or do they cut the risk away and mitigate it by taking it a little bit safer and perhaps just turn it down from 100% to 95%? Well, that is the quandary that qualifying confronts you with, in the fact that you've got to go fast and you've got to get it right first time if you want to be right up there in a situation such as this. But as we do say hello to Ken C in the YouTube chat, who's cheering on the Wrong Stuff drivers, saying slow is smooth, smooth is fast, and that being in reference to Joel Duton, and also Guy kindly out as we see the Wrong Stuff driver making his way on through at turn number 7, and then once he goes towards turn at number 8, we also say hello to David Walker, who's cheering on Tim Darracott, and well, we said we were going to introduce the Effect Simulations driver, and here he is as he makes his way on down to turn number 8. And of course, we've had many Effect Simulations driver on the grid over the history of the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup, where it'd be the likes of Paul Busby, alternately Tim Darracott, and also Emil Koopmans more recently. It's great to see them out on the grid, and we look forward to seeing how Darracott gets on today and what is his return to the grid in some time. And well, the grid is all the better for it. And as he makes his way in to the final chicane here, weaving the car to get a bit more tyre temperature, will he go onto a flying lap? We suspect he will. And well, as he makes his way on down the start-finish straight, let's jump on board for a flying lap, as brought to you by Tim Darracott. In fact, I don't think it's going to be a flying lap, ladies and gentlemen. I think he is, in fact, deciding to go for another warm-up lap here in order to be able to get those tyres in the prime zone. And well, with that speed not being carried up and being in high gears there to save some fuel, we are going to jump off the car there from Darracott for a brief moment and instead look elsewhere to some of our other drivers who are going to be on flying laps initially. And well, if you're wondering about the strategy being used there, in the fact that we have seen in previous seasons some drivers opt in to go all in for a single lap and therefore have 2 out laps to get those tyres into the optimum window, whereas other drivers by comparison decide to have a banker lap and then a follow-up lap. And we'll normally go for that single lap with the 2 warm-up laps is the stronger approach, but the risk of course is you get it wrong, you don't have any lap on the board. And well, David Biggerdike not subscribing to that theorem, he's decided to play it safe, and he's currently provisional pole sitter with 3 laps on the board there from Biggerdike, Hammer and Hatcher. And well, right now it does seem as though the privateer in the 23 of a 131.617 to beat, he's going to be beaten by James Parker and David van der Waals, who immediately leapfrogs his way up there, as we do see the Olympus esports driver taking the even fast lap of 31.166. We are expecting high 29s to be the target in this qualifying session if a driver gets it absolutely right, but otherwise it will be the low 30s. That is the golden standard. And well, as Corey Lazarus moves into the mid 30s and a 30.696, the Blackout OPR driver joining us from Australia but born and raised in New Zealand, if my memory serves me correctly, as he makes his way on through where's turn number 3 on a cool down lap here, getting himself set up for one more lap afterwards. And well, 12 minutes is a long time in this session to deliver 3 laps plus also your out lap, but the thing about this is that time very quickly trickles away. And well, we asked ourselves, will we get a lap from Tim Darracott? I think we now will, as he does roar his way to the start finish straight, and this time he is on the attack, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get that on board lapping. So he brakes 150 metres in the apex of turn 1 down to 3rd gear, trail braking and making his way out. Now bringing the car immediately over to the left hand side and onto the brakes once again, 170 metres in the apex of turn 2. Down to 3rd gear, now smoothing the throttle on in, letting the car run out wide, but straight line his way across turn 3 as much as he can, as he picks up a bit of power oversteer. Now onto the brakes for the escape road on the left hand side for turn number 4, braking about 100 metres from corner apex in 4th gear, where he makes his way down towards the final chicane. Now as he builds his way up to some of the high speeds you'll see on this circuit, heading onto the brakes on the 100 metre board, all the way down the gearbox to 3rd gear, lets the car go a bit deep and wide on the first apex of the chicane in order to smooth his way through, not taking any risks there, Darracott, about jumping over the chicane. and now makes his way for a bit of corner at turn 6 and onto the brakes here for the alignment box. So right, left, right as he comes down to the second gear. Straight line between the initial two apexes, cutting the curves as much as he dares to dream to do so. And now for the double right here in the third gear, up to fourth, a short shift there in order to give a bit of better rotation going through the last part of turn 7. And now over the crest and down into the braking zone for the hairpin at turn number 8, braking 100 meters from corner apex all the way down to the second gear as he exits out now, flooring the throttle there, extending the car out to the corner, straight for the Yokohama ring box at turn number 9, now flat out all the way up towards turn 10, the final chicane, as he makes his way onto the brakes, the 100 meter board, down 2 gears, down 3 gears into second, as he hits the second apex at 60 miles an hour, making his way out there, full throttle all the way to line, straight line the car to the left hand side as well. Derek feels so he's on a good lap. What's it going to be here as he heads towards the timeline? Well, it's going to be his first lap on the board, and it is going to be P7 of 31.194. He does have one more lap available to him, and that's why he's doing the fuel saving earlier to give himself the second lap. And will he be able to squeeze it in? That'll be the question. We've got ample time to do so. He doesn't have to worry about the timer. He's now just got to get it absolutely right. But meanwhile, speaking of a driver who looks to be getting it absolutely right as well, Philipp Hammer right now, he's gone purple in subsector 4, albeit he's just been dethroned from being purple in subsector 3, but another driver out there, but Hammer for Impulse Racing comes to line. He's currently a provisional pulse hitter, and he goes for 30.010, not quite able to break into the 29s, and he will have one more lap available to him. Meanwhile, Patrik Thomsen is out there on his first flying at the Apex Racing Academy driver. He's going to see if he can raise the bar even high, straight line his way as well. He knows he's on a good lap here as he heads to the timeline. What's it going to be? It's going to be a 29.534. It's a staggering lap from Thomsen. The first 29 we've seen from this session. Daniel Sedgey, meanwhile, goes P2 for Olympus Esports on, what is that, a 29.690. So essentially not too far off the overall pace. Meanwhile, in the silver class, David Biggerdike, having only done 2 laps, is currently your provisional pole sitter in P12. Alistair Pollock just behind him by half a second. So Biggerdike's found a lot of time out there. Alistair Hatcher making his way on around here. And well, as he does so, well, right now, I believe on a cool-down lap. And well, as he heads to the line, in fact, getting our mathematics correct, we do believe that both Patrik Thomsen and also Daniel Sedgey have completed their qualifying sessions, and Philipp Hammer right now, as he makes his way, he's on a cool-down lap. In fact, so we were incorrect in what we said earlier, and we've only got a couple of drivers out there on laps still. Tim Darracott moves back up to P7 on a 30.677 as he crossed the line for Effect Simulations, and Owen Halliday and Ryan Walker, the last 2 drivers out there on laps. Walker heading to line here, currently P10, 1.5 seconds off a pole, finding more time in the second half of the lap. He dethrones Parker from P9, moves up to P9 himself on a 30.698 and puts himself 1,000th of a Lazarus' time for P8 there. So good lap from the satellite racing driver. And well, Owen Halliday, the last driver to get a lap in on the board. And what's it going to be here? He's currently 3.1 seconds down on overall pole. Not 2 seconds, 1.2 seconds off a silver pole. He stays where he is, P20. No lap from Daniel Weston and Connor Craven. In the end, it's all gone so very, very wrong for him qualifying. P21, 11 seconds off. I don't think he actually got a valid lap in. And well, he's got a lap in on the board in the end. It would have been a warm-up lap, but he has not been able to get a successful timed lap in, which is representative of his pace, and that's the exact point we raised earlier. If a driver gets it wrong and doesn't get a good lap on the board, they're starting from the back, and Connor Craven embodying that after what was a stellar start to his season last time out. But that is effectively qualifying complete, ladies and gents. We are just waiting for our drivers out of the circuit now to bring the cars into the pits, given the fact they've got no more laps available to them. And well, with 3 minutes on the clock before we do head to the grid, what a change with regards to the grid today, in the fact that Patrik Thomsen, who once again has taken a pole position overall in the gold class, but the delta this time 1.5 tenths to Daniel Sedgey. Sedgey P2, and well, Philipp Hammer and Emil Koopmans will line up together on that second row of the grid, and Koopmans once again, that qualifying pace that seemed to just befuddle his performances last season. He wasn't quite able to consistently qualify inside the top 4. Koopmans is now starting to make a habit of it for Effect Simulations, and could this be the key to him unlocking his first ever overall win? And with a gold class win, we'll have to wait and see. But right now we have the pleasure of Parker and Hatcher both bringing the cars on home here as Hatcher makes his way through the last couple of corners. And well, as he does so, as I understand it, this lap's not going to count given the fact he's on a full lap and they only get 3 available. But still, we'll get to see what Hatcher's able to do here as he crosses the timeline. Will currently P14, and well, 2.5 seconds off the overall pole, and the best part of what was 7 tenths of a Biggerdike's pole lap for the silver class P12, and James Parker crossing the line there, staying P10 of course, not improving, and well, he'll be very shortly parking that car or bringing it in to the pits. But in the silver class analysis, David Biggerdike taking his first pole position of the season, and a sizable gap there of what was half a second to Alistair Pollock. So Biggerdike seems to be on form here in Circuit Zolder, and meanwhile Alistair Hatcher P3 just behind, not by much, by a 10th.5 there, with Craig Shaw third, 2/10 behind. So quite a split in the silver class qualifying times, but it's interesting. It's the first time we've seen this in a long time in the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup, where the gold class has entirely qualified ahead of the silver class. You normally get a couple of outliers in the silver class who just managed to qualify their way a little bit further up the order, but today we've got the perfect split, and well, that's going to make things even better for our drivers, and the fact they'll be able to get their heads down and immediately think about racing each other. Albeit I can imagine Big Dyke and Pollock, if they can get into the lead and try and run away with it in the silver class, they may want to try and get ahead of Patika or Parker in order to put a couple of gold drives between themselves and their silver peers. As we see James Parker just making his way down into turn number 8, and will Parker right now, much like season 9, keep in mind of course Parker is a 3-time drivers champion in this series. Parker not quite on the pace in the early half of the season so far. We saw that in season 9, the fact that he just couldn't quite find the pace until after the mid-season break, and he parks up and decides enough's enough, and as he makes his way to the pit lane, that is qualifying done and dusted with 30 seconds left on the board. And a couple other special mentions to Matt Strand. Firstly, the Racing Lab Esports driver, new to the gold class of course as of last week's round, having been promoted from the silver class after his championship title in season 9, qualifying P6 there, so moving closer to the front of the field already. And also we do see a little bit further down in the silver class that Paul Halliday and Ian Halliday together on the 10th row of the grid, and not even a 10th between the two, in fact a 10th and a couple of thousandths, let's get it right. And the Halliday brothers for no pointers having a difficult qualifying session once more. But as we say hello to your bus drivers tuning on the wrong stuff in the YouTube chat, and Alex Meredith in the YouTube chat there. He's normally a big fan of touring cars, but I get the feeling he might be getting his eye in with regards to Porsche Cup cars. We head to the grid for our first race of the day, and this is how they line up for round number 2 of Season 10 of the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup. It is Patrik Thomsen who takes overall and gold pole for Apex Racing Academy. He is joined on the front row of the grid by Daniel Sedgey for Olympus Esports Titan. Philipp Hammer lines up P3 for Impulse Racing ahead of Effect Simulations Emil Koopmans, with David van der Waals at P5 there for Olympus Esports Titan, and joined on the third row by Matt Strand for Racing Lab Esports. It's P7 for Effect Simulations Tim Darricott ahead of Corey Lazarus of Blackout OPR who starts P8, and then it's Ryan Walker for Satellite Racing and James Parker for 8-Hit Racing who make up your top 10 with the 5th row. We then have row number 6 going to Bruno Batica for Old Duty Cars on his debut ahead of David Bigadite, your silver pole sitter in the Privateer Machine P12. And then on row number 7 it's going to be the pairing of Wes Alistair Pollock for 8-Hit Racing Cyan and 8-Hit Racing's Alistair Hatcher. Craig Shields starts P15 for 8-Hit Racing Cyan ahead of teammate Sean Dobie. And then we have on row number 9 Glenn Humberstone for 8-Hit Racing and Joe Duton for the Wrong Stuff. Paul Halliday starts P19 for the Knoll Pointers ahead of Owen Halliday, his brother and teammate, who starts P20. And then it's Connor Craven who starts P21 for Olympus Esports Vulcan. And at the very back of the grid, no lap on the board, Daniel Weston for DCW Races going to do it the hard way from P22, the final spot on the grid. But that is how they all line up, ladies and gentlemen. And the conditions here could not be brighter. It could not be a sunnier day in Belgium. And what perfect conditions for us to go racing. And as we look back towards the front of the field, we can see that at a distance, Patrik Thomsen on the right, Daniel Sedgey on the left on our cameras, albeit the other way round in terms of how they line up looking into turn at number 1, and Thomsen will have that inside line. But of course there's always the big question of wheel spin off the line and getting that smooth start. And as we wait for the last couple of cars to get themselves into position, shortly lights will be going on. And it'll be the first time racing here today, and the lights are going on for round number 2, and it's going to be 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for the first time today as Patrik Thomsen looks to get a good start in the run down towards turn number 1. But Daniel Sedgey on the outside immediately, Philipp Hammer as well. They're both attacking Thomsen, who puts it in the middle of the road in the end. As they come through the opening corner, Thomsen putting up a valiant defence and making it work. Run wide there for what is Philipp Hammer as he brings it together. Meanwhile, car sideways. That's why the Olympus Esports car, I think that's David van der Waals, who's been turned across into turn 2. But he's been able to go straight across the circuit and onto the gravel. So nobody collected with the way with the Olympus Esports machine. As the drives all the way through, David Batica falling down the order to a degree, fighting his way back up now, looking around the outside of Alistair Pollock as they go through turn number 4. But he's going to run wide there on cold tyres and cold race car into the wall. And as the two cars come together, not quite sure who that is. I think that's Corey Lazarus and one of the 8-Hit Racing Cyan machines. But meanwhile, David Bigadike looking to defend versus Alistair Hatcher as he makes his way on through the client chicane. But David Bigadike has done exactly what he needed to do at the start of this race, which is hold on to his lead as they make the way down through bitter corner. And now it'll be line astern to a degree. But saying that Batica still fighting here with Craig Shield as Shield getting ahead and staying clear. Connor Craven already through the field to P13. Remember, this man started P21. He's gained 8 places already, 6 in the silver class. He's roaring his way out through the field. And as he makes his way up towards turn 8. Craven might be taking another place here versus Patrik, who's going to have to look for the opportunity on the brakes here into turn 8. He's going from quite far back. Patrik sees it coming and decides to squeeze a little bit, and Craven backing out. Their car runs wide in the rear of the picture. That's Ian Halliday, who's going to drop down from P17, and as our drivers make the way on towards the end of the first lap of racing. It has been a fast and frantic opening lap, but meanwhile Patrik Thomsen leads after one lap. So the order is as follows in terms of your top 10. Thomsen ahead of Sedgy, followed by Koopmans. Then we have Strand in P4 ahead of Parker, followed by Hammer. Then Walker P7, Darracott P8, Silver Leader Bigodike P9, Hatcher in P10, and then we have Bestos P11 at Schill. And as our drivers make the way onto lap number 2, we still got the best part of 10 minutes to go in this race. Well, right now everyone's starting to weave and wind the way at bars, and as they make the way onwards around here, it's going to become now about these tighter battles. We've got Corey Lazarus in the pits and Joel Duton as well. I believe Joel Duton had to be towed to the pits, the car's been retired. Lazarus had to come in after the damage picked up on the run out of turn number 4 in the O-team lap. And as we say hello there to Gordon Marshall, who's cheering on Corey Lazarus. It's not been the start of your Corey Lazarus fan today for the Blackout OPR driver, and we'll get a replay of what exactly happened very shortly as the drivers all coming down. And meanwhile, looking a bit further back there, we can see DCW Racing and moving forward in particular, and that of course being the car Daniel Weston that started from P22, but we're focused here on Alistair Pollock, P18. The 8-tip Racing sign drivers had it all go wrong, and what we can show you on the time down the left hand side of your screen, the respective overall gains and losses from our drivers. And well, bar the major anomaly of being what is Corey Lazarus with that major loss, we can also see the same for David van der Waals. Their 14 places lost, having started the way up in P5, and that early spin setting him all the way back to P19. Well, meanwhile, the biggest gainers by comparison, Conor Craven 8 places gained, Daniel Weston at 7 places gained, and also James Parker 5 places gained from a P10 start. A great start for the 8-tip Racing driver, and where it goes to show you've got to make those gains nice and early, as meanwhile Sean Dovey under huge pressure here from teammate Pollock as they made the way down towards the final corner. And will he step aside here, or will he defend? It looks as though in the end there's no move that comes from Pollock, by getting the feeling that Scotsman might be on the radio to his teammate right now. So David van der Waals is going to try and go around the outside here as they make the way down towards turn number 1. It's going to be 3 wide almost as they head the way down towards the braking zone. Van der Waals goes between them, and it's a squeeze, but in the end the Dutchman goes for it, but locks up on the brakes, carrying a bit too much speed. Meanwhile, spin there for Alistair Pollock as he gets it wrong. Was there contact with Dobie, or was it just hesitance on the throttle? Weave way, Pollock's gone round, Van der Waals has gone wide, but Pollock loses out the most out of the two of them. And well, an unexpected moment there for Pollock, and Van der Waals trying to be as smart as possible in the move, trying to weave his way through, but just taking a bit too much speed into the corner into the end. But meanwhile, we look back to your race leader, and Patrik Thomsen is being closed up to by Daniel Sedgy. The gap has come back down to 4 tenths as we look back from the rear of your Apex Race Academy leader, the Olympus Esports machine, giving a hot pursuit as they make the way through turn number 7, and as they all go over to the rise now towards turn number 8, where it looks though here Thomsen once again just managing his pace. We saw that in the early stages of PIR. We simply kept his opponents behind him and just managed to pace the race as much as possible, but didn't have as much breathing room as perhaps he would have liked versus Souto, and perhaps he's in a similar situation versus Sedgy, swapping out one Olympus Esports driver for another. But the point being that Olympus Esports are never going to get the race leader get too far away if they're not leading the race themselves. But meanwhile, that leads us up very nicely to take a look back at the race start, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll here is the replay. As we take a look back, and indeed obscured by the grandstand there, but this time we get a better view, and this is the race start procedures. We look at Patrik Thomsen firstly, but indeed our focus needs to be more on David van der Waals in terms of what happened to him as he made his way into the opening corner. 3 wide here with Strand on the outside and Darracott on the inside, and in the end a small bit of contact with Strand. Strand had to take evasive action there from Philipp Hammer rejoin, and van der Waals being tapped and sent all the way around. Great cat-like reflexes there from Tim Darracott. And then what happened to Corey Lazarus, who had a very poor start, it would seem, and the Blackout OPR drivers, he made his way in towards turn number 4, falling all the way down the order and then starting to battle here. We're going to be obscured by the local tentage, but as he made his way out the corner, I think a car in front getting it wrong, and Lazarus taking evasive action, being collected there, and it all going wrong. Can we get an alternative view of Corey Lazarus' start? I think we might be able to from the onboard here for the Blackout OPR driver. What exactly went wrong, given the fact he's qualified quite well? Tons of wheel spin there, and in fact, and to pull the car to the right as cars were kind of behind him. So made a bit of contact to the wall there and losing 12 places at the start of the race. And the Blackout OPR driver in the end having to try and thread the needle on the restart of the run. As he made his way out of turn 1 into 2, only gained 1 place back. Smoke up in front, that's David van der Waals who went off. And well, then looking on the inside here, but not quite getting the run versus Batika as he made his way through the corner. And we're going to see very shortly how it all ended for Corey Lazarus as he went to turn 4. So keep your eyes on the 18-tip Racing sign car in front which I think is going to have a little bit of an nose in. In fact, Lazarus tries to squeeze through. It was 3 wide there on the run out the corner, and Lazarus in the end, well, that tells a very different story, and the opportunity not quite being what he thought it was, albeit the space was there, but then 3 does not go into a space of 2 normally down that straight, but Lazarus trying to make it do so. As we return to your live racing pictures, ladies and gents, when Patrik Thomsen still leading, but we're back just in time for some more battling here, and this being between what is James Parker and not Tim Darracott, Philipp Hammer. Tim Darracott's a bit further behind, and it's in the fight for P5 with Parker, one of the biggest gainers as he made his way on through turn number 4 there, and drawing their way down towards the Klein chicane now. And I'm very pleased to tell you that Corey Lazarus has been able to get the car back out on the circuit, ladies and gentlemen. That is the best part of 24 seconds behind the order. So I think right now it's all about just trying to pick up some places if you can from other retirees in this race with 5 minutes plus the final lap on the clock. But coming back to the point of contention here with our cameraman in the fact that we've got Hammer chasing furiously out of the chicane there versus Parker. And we're right now Hammer looking to gain a few more places before this race is said and done. As they roar the way on the rise. Meanwhile, Craig Shields had an incident down into turn 7 from what I'm hearing in my ear, and we're on to the brakes here. Hammer still trying to look for potential moves versus Parker as we ride on board the front bumper. We lose Parker for a brief moment, a little bit of internet latency there kicking in, but thankfully nothing too catastrophic as they make their way down towards turn number 10. And well, as Hammer stays extremely close here, can he find a move? No, he can't. We do get an absolutely beautiful view of the rear bumper of the 866 racing machine as they make their way out towards turn number 1, and the point being that Hammer very close, and I think Hammer's got the pace, but the problem is that Circuit Zolder is not obliging when it comes to overtaking opportunities, and you are seeing exactly that in practice here. In the fact, if Parker gets the right corner exits done, then it will be Hammer who's made to wait and just continue to watch all the way through to the finish. But then again, we know that Hammer, as well as drives who bides his time, does the analysis. He's like a machine sometimes, in the fact he'll just continue to sit behind for as long as possible, and then he'll find what makes the move click and execute it immediately. As he sits with 1.5 attempts here, making the way down towards the Klein chicane for a run by comparison versus Parker. And Parker doing just enough. Hammer getting close once again, but no way through. As meanwhile, Daniel Weston gained another place car round, and that is Glenn Humberstone. Oh, goodness me! And the 8-tip racing Scion machine coming into the side there of Schill, and as they make the way out of turn number 4, Humberstone gets it off the road just in time as David van der Waals and with Alistair Pollock are battling for position here as they make the way down to the Klein chicane. I think van der Waals had to back the car off there, and well, Pollock's not going to waste any time in seizing the opportunity to take the place, and well, an absolutely nerve-wracking moment for both drivers. Now, we're not quite sure what turned Humberstone around, but meanwhile, what we can tell you is that 8-tip racing are being assaulted on all fronts here as Parker right now having a battle contact over Philipp Hammer, hammering in, getting on through. I think Parker will feel as though he was pushed aside there coming through the Jochen Rinck box, but I think Hammer would say, well, no, there's too wide opportunity, and he went for it. Well, I think both those drivers might have a word with one another after this race before they're going to race number 3 of the season, but as they make the way onwards towards another lap, Philipp Hammer's found his way through up to P5 and having to really go all in to make the move happen and finally finding a space. But now with 2.5 minutes left to go, can he close down Matt Strand, who is the best part of what is 1.5 seconds up the road for him in P4? Well, whilst that question's being answered, meanwhile, silver leader David Biggerdike, let's not forget about our silver class here, the privateer, still leading ahead of Alistair Hatcher by 1.1 seconds. The gap not really opening up any further, and it looks so right now these two very equal in pace, but Biggerdike in control at the front of this silver pack, but Bottega continues to try and round his way through the field. Meanwhile, we had an instant for Alistair Pollock, and Pollock is falling further and further down the order when off track at turn at number 1. What exactly happened to Pollock? Here's the replay. Going into the braking zone, that's on the inside into turn 1. Can we get a closer camera angle on that? We can. And with the 8-tip racing sign drive just locking up there on the inside of what was at the time, I do believe none other than Alistair Hatcher, and losing that significantly as a result. And the 8-tip racing sign driver losing an absolutely bountiful place. In fact, that was Craig Schill in the battle for P15 or P6 in the silver class as we correct ourselves. But now return to your live pictures. The Pollock tries to bring things back together. Well, I think it's going to be all about the recovery drive in the round number 3 feature race that's coming up after this. Will mean, well, we look to Alistair Hatcher right now, would love to be looking forward chasing down David Biggerdike, but I think the problem he's got is the fact he's going to look backwards. He's got Bruno Bottega behind, and well, this is an important position for Hatcher. Whilst he's going to be battling with a gold driver, the more important thing is the fact that it's the top 10 reverse grid for the next race, And where is Hatcher currently sat, you may ask? He's currently sat overall P10. So he brings this result home. It'll put him on pole for the second race of the day. And well, if you can be a silver starting within that reverse grid top 10, that is a huge achievement. And it gives you a gold-plated opportunity to guarantee you on the silver podium, if not in a chance of the silver win. But meanwhile, as the white flag waves, it is the final lap of racing in our first race of today. And well, as the race continues to eschew its way towards the very end, Connor Craven right now on a bit of a recovery through the field after a dismal qualifying session. 9 places gained, 7 in class. Looking to try and find his way past Patrik, who's under pressure from Craven now and falling away from Hatcher. And this is perfect for Hatcher. He'll be very grateful as meanwhile, Bullock battling there with Schill and Dobie, the 3 8-tip racing sign drivers all together on circuit. And right there, it's hard to discern who's who, but they're all fighting one another. But meanwhile, Batika here having to defend hard versus Craven down to the client chicane. Side by side they go into it. Batika ahead out it for old duty cars, but feeling that pressure even more. And I think he's going to be a bit frustrated. He can't go hunting after Hatcher. And well, Craven's still trying to cut his way through and gain as many places he can before this race is done and dusted. But meanwhile, speaking of putting this race to bed, we look to your race leader here as he makes his way into the final corner. And as the checker flag gets ready to wave, well, he won last week and he's going to carry on that win streak as of round number 2 as he heads towards the line. It's Patrik Thomsen who's your winner in the heat at Zolder as he crossed the line 4 seconds clear of Daniel Sedgey. The Apex Racing Academy driver being followed up by the Olympus Esports Titan driver, and it's Effect Simulations Emil Koopmans completes your overall gold podium ahead of Matt Strand and Philipp Hammer, with James Parker P6 ahead of Ryan Walker and Tim Darracott. Out to the final corner he comes, and David Biggerdike comes on through to take his first win of the season in this heat race in the silver class, the privateer, ahead of second place silver driver Alistair Hatcher. That completes your top 10. Alistair Hatcher will be your reverse grid pole sitter for race 2. Bruno Batika P11 ahead of Connor Craven, who rounds off the silver podium, and a great recovery drive after qualifying. Daniel West as well starting P22, 9 places gained to P4 in the silver class, and P13 overall. Paul Halliday completes your top 5 silver, and P14 for the no pointers. David van der Waals just behind him, and then Sean Dobie, Craig Schill, Alistair Pollock and Glenn Humberstone to complete P19 run, and in P20 it'll be the no pointers Owen Halliday ahead of Corey Lazarus. P21 and your last finisher of the race with Joel Douton, your sole retiree. As all the drivers come across the line, well, we do have the best part of 2 minutes or a breather, and let's quickly take you through those finishing positions subject to any stewards' inquiries before we do go racing again. And well, as the results do appear, your results from our first race of the day, the round 2 heat here at Circuit Zolder. Patrik Thomsen, your winner for Apex Racing Academy by 4.2 seconds over Olympus Esports Titans. Daniel Sedgey, Emil Koopmans at P3 there to round off the golden overall podium for Effect Simulations ahead of Matt Strand for Race Lab Esports and Philipp Hammer for Impulse Racing. With the Impulse Racing driver in the end right on the back of Strand at the finish line, but Hammer not quite able to get the job done after he spent so long passing James Parker, who took P6 for 8-tip racing. P7 for Ryan Walker, the satellite racing driver, making some early progress today. And Tim Darracott, meanwhile, for Effect Simulations, falling down the order to a P8 finish, but still recovering his way there after falling outside the top 10 in the early stages. David Biggerdike, your silver class winner, the privateer, ahead of Alistair Hatcher for 8-tip racing. The 2 silver drivers there completing your top 10 and therefore being on the front row of the grid for our second race of the day. Bruno Batika, P11 for Old Dudes in Cars Blue. Old Dudes in Cars, I should say, their blue livery being on shine. Best of the rest of the grid, ahead of Connor Craven, your third place finisher in the silver class, completing that silver podium of Biggerdike, Hatcher and Craven for Olympus Esports Vulcan. There was Daniel Weston, Paul Halliday and David van der Waals who completed your top 15. And the run to P20 being Sean Dobie, Craig Shaw and Alistair Pott, the 3 8-tip racing sign teammates together, ahead of Glenn Humberstone and Owen Halliday. And then Corey Lazarus, your last finisher on the lead lap. Then we had your sole retiree retiring after what was 1 or 2 laps of racing, Joel Douton for the wrong stuff there. It all went wrong in race 1, but can it go better in race number 2? Well, we are only moments away from heading to the grid for what is going to be, I should say, it hasn't finished yet, albeit we're getting ahead of ourselves, what is going to be our second race of the day. And well, in the round 3 feature race, of course, 30 minutes in duration. It's 2.5 times the length of the sprint. Tyre wear is going to be even more critical, and our drivers will need to get the right setups on the car. But who is going to get the balance right between pace and consistency and aggression? Well, there's only one time to find out, and that time is now. So as our drivers make their way onto the grid for our second and final race of the day, this is how they'll line up for the round 3 feature. It is Alistair Hatcher for ATEC Racing who takes reverse grid pole position and silver pole with it. He's joined on the front row by his silver rival, that being David Biggerdike, and behind them, Tim Darracott, your gold class pole sitter for Effect Simulations, the Satellite Racing's Ryan Walker. Round number 3 goes to James Parker for ATEC Racing and Philipp Hammer for Impulse Racing. Keep your eyes out for them, there'll be sparks between them into turn 1. With Matt Strand for Race Lab Esports P7, head of Effect Simulations Emil Koopmans, and there'll be Daniel Sergi at P9 for Olympus Esports Titan, ahead of last round's winner, Patrik Thomsen for Apex Racing Academy. Bruno Battica and Connor Craven line up on row number 6, ahead of the pairing of with Daniel Weston and Paul Halliday, and then we do have David van der Waals and Sean Dobie on row number 8, ahead of Craig Shaw and Alistair Pocker on row number 9. Your top 20 is completed by Glenn Humberstone and Owen Halliday, and on the final row of the grid, Corey Lazarus starting P21 after a dismal race number 1, but got it to the end, and Joel Duton who starts on the back of the grid. But as the grid is set, ladies and gentlemen, we look to our cameras. The lights are going on once again for our second race of the day. There's 3 red lights, there's 4 of them, now there's 5. And then the start, because it's lights out and away we go for our second race of the day. And as Alistair Hatcher looks to get a good launch, David Biggerdike then gets the perfect launch but struggles in the second phase. Ryan Walker leading his way into P2, and Walker's going all in here, and well, he's had an absolutely brilliant start as the gold class driver, and he's chased after Alistair Hatcher already. But as they make the way into turn number 2, car wide in the rear of the picture, that is getting Humberstone, I do believe, going wide at turn number 1, but most of the field this time safely on through the opening couple of corners. A bit of battling there further down for Matt Strand versus Sergi. It's Sergi up the inside, so it's Patrik Thomsen. Meanwhile, car sideways, that's Daniel Weston, who's been turned across the run into turn 4. Will we see that car in the rear of the picture? I don't think so. I think the car's got beached on the apex curve entry at turn 4, but as the majority of the field roar their way now down towards the Kleiner chicane, it's going to be battles abreast here as we see 2 by 2 by 2 as they roar their way through the chicane, going to 1 by 1 now as they exit and as they make the way with their eyes. Well, it's going to be Daniel Sergi who has held on versus Patrik Thomsen. Matt Strand's fallen behind the pair of them, and Connor Craven up to P10 just behind, and now playing the guise of what is leading ahead of teammate David van der Waals as they all come on through to Lyman Box and onwards they go towards turn at number 8 with Alistair Hatcher right now under pressure, and Ryan Walker, and Walker going for the lead here. He knows he's got to pounce whilst he's got an opportunity, given the fact that Philipp Hammer's already up to P4 and looking to try and find his way past Biggerdike in the rear of the picture for the drivers. But as they make the way on through Jochen Ringbox to turn number 9, we ride on board and look back from the rear of the ATEC Racing car. Alistair Hatcher, the number 19. He's got his head down right now as he goes towards the end of lap number 1. We can see there's a long road ahead of him, the best part of which 28 more minutes of racing as he roars his way onto lap number 2. Well, this is the order as it stands after 1 lap. It is Hatcher ahead of Walker, followed by Biggerdike. Then we've got Hammer ahead of Darracott, followed by Koopmans. Sergi in P7 ahead of Thomsen, followed by, well, in fact, hold that thought as Emil Koopmans being passed by Daniel Sergi as the 2 battle. Meanwhile, it's a mistake for Alistair Hatcher. He's gone sideways, and that car is across the road slightly, gets it turned around, but was there any contact on the drive? I think Daniel Sergi has been picked up. You can see Sergi for a brief moment at the bottom of the camera shot. It's been drama. Our camera's not been that flattering in terms of telling you what has exactly happened. We'll have to get a replay of that very shortly, but meanwhile, it shakes the field up, particularly if you're looking to be inside the top 10, and Corey Lazarus suddenly leaps his way back up to P11, so scrap the thought of the top 10 recap we were briefly doing there. We're going to have to do it again next time around for the simple reason that whole field has been shaken aplenty as they roar the way on through the chicane. Here comes through the Kleiner chicane. One more opportunity for Corey Lazarus. He looks to try and pick his way past Paul Halliday, who's down to P3 in the silver class, with what is Alistair Hatcher dropping on down the order. And well, Paul Halliday here, you can see him with the camouflage on the car, and Lazarus up the inside as they make the way on through the Tlan box chicane. And right now on the attack is Corey Lazarus. 9, he's got it all to do, and he started P21. It should be pointed out Lazarus has gained the best part, as we see it there on the graphic on the left hand side of the screen. He's gained the best part of his 11 places. Meanwhile, places being gained here for Hammer and Darracott up the inside of David Biggerdike as they make the way out of turn number 8 and in towards turn number 10. And as they make the way down in towards the braking zone for the final chicane on this lap, well, right now Ryan Walker, he's got 1.7 second gap and he's looking to run away, but Hammer now has a clear road in front of him and only 1 target in his sights, and Darracott will look to try and follow Hammer on through, and that is now going to be the test of Walker's ability to maintain his pace. He sets the fastest lap of the race on lap number 2. But as they make the way on through, Alistair Pollock meanwhile exchanging a little bit of position here with what is Sean Dobie, his teammate, albeit trying to go around the outside, losing the rear of the car, and turn 1 bites once again for Alistair Pollock. It happened in race 1. It's happened again in race number 2. And will the A-Tech Races Cyan driver, he'll be absolutely fuming at that as he tries to get the car back together shortly, but no, he's got to get it off of the gravel and then get it onto circuit without obstructing any other drivers and spinning still. There's no grip on those tyres, and for Pollock, it's all going wrong. But meanwhile, due to Joel Douton making a great start to this race, and start P22 from the back of the grid up to P15 for the wrong stuff, getting ahead of teammate there of what was, I do believe, well, in fact, not teammate, getting ahead of a rival, I should say, Daniel Weston, as Douton makes his way over the rise and down to turn 6. But meanwhile, we've got a question from Daz Sharp in the YouTube chat, which is what happened to Bruno Batica? And well, that's a big question that we're going to try and get the answer to, because it all went wrong for a number of drivers, including what was Batica in the early stage of Joel Douton, taking a bit of a liberal use of track limits there in order to get the car on through turn 7. And we'll pick up an automated slowdown for that cut, no doubt about it. And he'll therefore be punished for it later on in this race. He tucks in behind Craig Shield. But meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a look to Conor Craven here for a brief moment as he looks to try and move on through with David van der Waals, his teammate, his gold class teammate, just behind him, and then Emil Cummins and Corey Lazarus. But speaking of that race start, we have a replay, and we're going to be getting it from onboard at Bruno Batica's car. And as we do, ladies and gentlemen, in fact, I do believe we're having some slight technical issues with our replay here. We're not quite able to get the camera angles we would so like. In fact, now we can get those angles. And Batica starting from the pit lane, interestingly, and, well, not able to start the race on the grid. A technical issue with the car, and that explains what exactly happened. Now, we did have some instances of the race start for other drivers further down the order. We will be getting a replay of what exactly happened. Owen Halliday being at the start of the race. We're not quite sure then what happened to Batica other than a pit lane start. What exactly triggered that, I suspect that must have been an issue with the car. But as the drivers made the way down, a relatively clean start for most. But Owen Halliday at the rear here in the Rexy machine. Free wide, but comes in a little bit too hot. Going for the move up the middle of the road there. Trying to go for the Moses manoeuvre, and a mistake for the A-Tech Racing machine. Also around him of what was, I do believe that was none other than Glenn Humberstone. And then only moments later, it all went very, very wrong for a couple of other drivers. And well, as I tried to bring it back together, Daniel Weston being ejected, I think, running to the grass out of turn 3, and the car in the end just about coming to a stop in time. But that was the drama that we saw at the start of the race. But let's not billy on at that anymore, for the simple reason we've got still plenty of race to go. As there, we return to your live racing pictures, and that's a move up the inside into turn 8 for P9 by Corey Lazarus Blackout OPR versus Conor Craven, as Craven are tucking in behind. And well, now as they make their way into the braking zone here for turn number 10, Craven coming back immediately but not getting it stopped in time. And well, you could see there Lazarus saw it coming from a mile off and opened up the door and let Craven take his way to the gravel and play with the sand. As they make their way up towards turn number 1, on towards another lap, they go on to lap number 5 and rolling their way on down towards the braking zone. Meanwhile, Paul Halliday there battling side by side versus Sean Dobie. Dobie trying to go around the outside. This is for P3 in the silver class, and Halliday, after a great start, now being swamped by silver rivals, because he's also got Sean Weston behind. Weston's going to look up the inside of Shield. I think Craig Shield's been caught napping at the wheel there as they made their way through turn 2, because Weston just sneaking his way out the inside of DCW Racing, saying, "Don't mind if I do, thank you very much." And as they made their way up towards turn 4, Shield's going to try and come back immediately here, but I don't think he's going to be able to find the space as they come on through the right-hander and onto the short straight they go. As meanwhile, just in front of the camera shot, that's Daniel Sedgwick and Conor Craven exchanging places, with Sedgwick getting back ahead of Craven after his error earlier on, and now it does mean that Sedgwick completes your top 10. Meanwhile, the battle for what is P3 in the silver class, could it be closing up to P2? With Conor Craven only 4.5 seconds up the road, we'll have to wait and see. But meanwhile, as we jump on board the front bumper of Daniel Weston for DCW Racing, right now all over the back of his rival of West Paul Halliday, as they made the way through the second half of turn number 7 and rolling the way on through the right hander and up the rise they go. Shield only 6 tenths behind, and Dobie only a further 4 tenths up the road from this pair. And Weston goes all the way on the inside. This could be a very late round of the brakes, and there's contact there with what is Sean Dobie. He's turned completely around. Paul Halliday collected by that, and then Daniel Weston just missing his braking point by the best part of about 15 metres. And well, for Paul Halliday and for what is Sean Dobie, a frustrating moment. Meanwhile, for Craig Shield, as he goes a bit deep into turn 10 himself, I don't think he's going to quite believe that he's just been able to gain 3 places by being in the right place at the right time and moves into P3 in the silver class. But meanwhile, we've got battles are plenty here as they make their way through turn number 2 in the gold class as well. And that's David van der Waals up the inside of Emil Koopmans for P6 overall and in class, with David Biggedite now falling back to P8 overall, steering clear of this battle. And to be fair, Biggedite doesn't need to do anything more than stay where he is right now, because he's your leader of the silver class and he is leading the class by 3 seconds over Connor Craven as they make their way down towards the Klein chicane once more. And I think in the mind of what we David Biggedite, his thought process will be just get the points home, much like we heard from Craven last time out at what was at Virginia International Raceway, the silver leader and winner there, talking about the fact that whilst the temptation was clear to battle with the gold drives, he didn't give in to it because he knew where the championship points lay in the rules and regulations. But as David van der Waals makes his way on for return at number 7, he's got the encroaching pressure. Ben Koopmans will ride on board and look back from the rear of the Dutchman's car. It's the battle of the 2 Dutchmen as they make their way down. Koopmans up the inside, and well, Koopmans doesn't need to be asked twice to go for a move here. Meanwhile, Corey Lazarus out the inside of Biggedite, going on the inside move for turn number 8 there. Classic move from both drivers, and Koopmans and Lazarus both making ground. Great race in between them. Meanwhile, Daniel Weston now coming on down, looking for a move versus Halliday, but he'll be conscious he won't want to make the same mistake twice. And you can see where the paint has been ripped off the side of the car there in the contact between himself and also what was Sean Dovey and Paul Halliday the last time around. And well, I think all 3 drivers there are going to be nursing some bruises on the car, as we can see also the rear wing of Paul Halliday's car slightly off centre angle as they make the way for return to Weston, find the outside to inside, but in the end no way through. Paul Halliday absolutely putting up a wall of a defence here, and you can understand why he doesn't want to be let go as they make their way onwards towards turn at number 1. Meanwhile, we look back to your race leader overall and in the gold class here of Ryan Walker, and it's crazy to think with all the drama and action we've had, only 10 minutes of the 30-minute race here have passed, and indeed time flies when you're having fun, and these drivers right now absolutely enjoying themselves, but they've still got a long journey to go. But as they make their way down for return number 6, Ryan Walker, well, he's going to be looking in his rearview mirror and he's going to know he's going to have a 4-time gold champion behind him, and well, this is going to be a long journey if he wants to try and hold off Philipp Hammer for the best part of 20 minutes plus the final lap. Knowing of course that the tyres on these cars, well, they can last 30 minutes, but they're in their prime for only the best part of 15 to 20 minutes, and therefore he's got to drive this smart and sensibly if he wants to try and hold on to the lead, if not at least a podium, as he makes his way out of turn number 8 and 9. The more he battles with Hammer and Darracott behind, that's going to bring Thomsen into the mix, then Strand and Koopmans, and this Goldfield is gradually concertinaing together as Hammer 2 tenths behind doesn't look for the move into turn at number 10. Will he look for it into turn at number 1 as we jump on board with the Impulse Racing driver, knowing of course that he's got the pressure of Darracott behind for effect simulations. And the problem for Hammer right now is the situation whereby he's caught between a rock and a hard place, and the fact the hard place will be Walker in front, he's going to simply put himself up a defence as much as he possibly can. You know, Darracott is going to be the rock that's constantly going to be on the heels of Hammer and looking to boulder its way on through and look for a move for P2. And once they make the way through turn number 2 in towards 3, no way through at the moment for either driver in the chase after Walker. You can see Hammer getting closer and closer as they make the way into turn 4. Through the right hander they go, but a better run off the apex initially for Walker, and that's going to give him a little bit of breathing room, though Hammer on the second phase of the exit, in fact, getting the power down much more smoothly. He looks the inside, and I think that's just as much a message to Darracott behind to say, look, don't look for the move, as it is a message to Walker saying, I just need a couple more hundreds, and I'm going to be there looking up the inside against you. And well, could that be trying to play mind games versus Walker right now? And of course, that is always a big part of these cars. Remember, it's all manual in terms of the drivers having to worry about the power. There's no traction control on these cars, nor the brakes, there any anti-lock braking systems or ABS, so therefore you go too aggressive on the brakes, you'll lock up, and we've seen many a driver do that already into the heavy braking zones, and that's exactly the kind of pressure you put on a driver. You can distract them, get into the head, make them lock up the car, make them get on the throttle too aggressively, and that can just be enough to unsettle them and put them out of position. But no signs of Wilson right now for Walker as Hammer continues to stay close, and Darracott 4 tenths behind. But look, Patrik Thomsen then now in the back of this group of 4 as they make the way on through turn number 10, and well, now it's a 4-way fight for lead. Matt Strand 4 seconds behind, seems to be falling in the way of the pace. Interestingly, Strand not gaining here, and I think it's going to be, as you can see, Strand and also what is Emil Koopmans in the rear of the picture, and then we do have Lazarus and Van der Waals as they make the way onwards towards turn 1. All these drivers will be absolutely salivating at the prospect to get involved. But speaking of getting involved, but still we look here to Owen Halliday battling with Batika, as Batika continues to try and recover his way through the field. Now in the battle for P14, the old Duty Cars driver up the inside, lock up there, gets it stopped, but not in time to stay on the circuit. And Halliday will get the move back, albeit not about power slide out of turn 10, a bit too eager on the throttle there. No pointers driver getting it wrong. Batika Buttigieg does take the place in the end, albeit an unconventional man, and Sean Doby switches to the inside here, looking for P5 in the silver class into turn 1. Can he get it through the corner? No, he cannot, and in the end, Ian Halliday, knowing exactly how much room he's got to play with, and just simply slamming the door shut in the face of Sean Doby. But as the Scotsman tries to push on, we've got battling here into turn number 7 as Tim Darracott versus Patrik Thomsen. Thomsen looking inside to outside through the first part of the chicane. It's a very hard move to pull it off, and in the end, Darracott giving no quarter, but this battle in between has put them almost 1.7 seconds on the back of Hammer, and already Thomsen coming on again as Darracott defends the inside into turn 8. Looking around the outside goes Thomsen, but as he does so, can the Danishman pull it off? No, he can't, and Darracott again simply holding on for Jochen Rinck box as they head on down towards turn number 10. Drivers right now absolutely looking left, right and centre if you inside this top 4, but it's broken up into 2 pairs of battles now, and could this be the opportunity for Hammer to really go on the offensive versus Walker? As meanwhile Thomsen constantly getting the upper hand on corner exit versus Darracott, but can't find a way through. And well, we do know that Darracott a very strong defensive driver. Here comes Thomsen looking up the inside, going as late as possible. It's going to be Darracott who goes for the switchback here, coming out of turn at number 1, going for the cutback if you will, but Thomsen there getting himself into the middle of the road, saying to Darracott it's not happening. And as they make the way through turn number 2, we can see the better run from Darracott initially, but Thomsen gets the power down, and I think he's made this move stick. Patrik Thomsen is up into P3 for Apex Racing Academy, and right now the 00 Danishman, well, he's looking to go to the very top. And speaking of the very top, Ryan Walker still under pressure from Philipp Hammer, but the gap that these two have now got versus Thomsen and Darracott is 2 seconds, albeit it is coming down quickly. With Walker's pace not quite being enough through the Klein chicane, I think, for Hammer's liking. And well, as a result, the two drivers backing off one another, and therefore it's going to give Thomsen and Darracott the opportunity to get back into this battle, albeit switched in order now as we make our way towards the halfway point of this race. We're almost at the 15-minute mark, 10 laps in, and well, I can imagine these cars are going to start to feel a little bit lighter now as the fuel's burnt out the car, and also the tyres are going to start to evolve towards being out of their prime, and that's where the race becomes even more tantalising in the fact now you've got to try and manage those tyres and also gauge just exactly how much life you've got left. But meanwhile, we see a swap of position for Olympus Esports teammates of Daniel Sedgey and David van der Waals, with van der Waals steering aside there, coming down to turn 8, and Sedgey making his way on through, moving up into P8 overall. And David Biggerdike, meanwhile, as we see Siobhan Parrott there in the YouTube chat saying, good job David Biggerdike, solid performance, and doing exactly that. Unfortunately, he's not getting much camera time for the simple reason he's steering well clear of the silver class, but let's give him some camera time right now, and we're 5-second advantage over second place silver driver Connor Craven, who is currently P11. Biggerdike right now on for a big haul of points day after what was that great result, of course, in race number 1, that win, and now looking to make it back-to-back wins here at Circuit Zolder. But as he heads on through turn at number 1, we look to Connor Craven, and well, the Olympus Esports Vulcan driver is matching the pace of Biggerdike, not quite on course to bring the gap down. In fact, Biggerdike on that last lap was the best part of what was 3/10 faster, but we'll have to wait and see whether there is a bit more of an ebb and flow between them or whether it's going to stay static. But from our drivers in the silver class, we do come back to your leaders here, and Walker still under huge pressure as the Zolder Racing driver makes his way over the hill, but Hammer takes a quick look up the inside, but Walker being very smart with the way he's positioned the car down through Butter Corner, in the fact he's intentionally leaving the door a little bit open at first to put himself on a bit of a middle line in towards the apex at turn number 6, and that means Hammer's got no way through. If he does try and look up the inside, it's only going to lead to Hammer triggering off a bit of contact, and Walker knowing exactly just where the limits are when it comes to defending around the Circuit Zolder circuit, and as a result, Hammer, of course, a very sensible driver, is going to know exactly where and when he can't go over the moves. So right now, both of these drivers playing off the textbook of overtaking at Zolder, and as the Scotsman looks to try and hold off the German going in to the final corner, well, we're going to have a little bit of traffic up the road from 10 seconds from him. Is going to be the car of Alistair Hatcher. Could that play an effect a bit later on? We'll have to wait to see, but we have lost 3 drivers in this race. James Parker, Jordan Tonner and Alistair Pollock. But as 19 drivers still running out of 22 starters, more of them on the lead lap at this time, as we do continue to ride aboard with Ryan Walker as he goes on to lap number 12. As he does so, roaring his way on through at the right hander there of turn number 2 and into 3 goes. Patrik Thomsen now 1.5 seconds behind, but on that last lap was 7 tenths of a second faster. Thomsen is closing hand over fist. Next lap he'll be within slipstream range in terms of was the ideal range of 1 second or less, we would estimate, and that's going to give an opportunity. And I think Hammer now's got to think about looking for that move. because otherwise it could be Hammer versus Thomsen round number 2 here today. And well, that is going to be a prospect which we would love to see. But I get the feeling that Hammer would love to clear off and start to break away and have Walker deal with the stalled attacks of what would be Thomsen. But as they make the way in towards an outer turn 7, meanwhile Matt Strand finds himself in a little bit of an entanglement of his own here, as Emil Cummins and Corey Lazarus have moved much closer, and the Race Lab Esports driver seems to be struggling at the pace at this point in the race, with the fact the drivers behind him lacking a couple of attempts a lap faster as he makes his way over towards turn number 8. And then Will Koopmans here very close for an attempt as he goes into the braking zone, looks up the inside. Meanwhile, Corey Lazarus trying to follow through as well. He's going to be a 2-for-1 pass. Now, can Lazarus make it 2 for 2? No, he can't there as he gets ahead of Strand, but not ahead of what is at Koopmans. And Koopmans in the end making it count as they make the way in towards turn number 10. A great move there from Emil Koopmans. And well, with such a move being made, Lazarus only obligingly creeping his way up through as well. But meanwhile, as we look back here to Sean Dobie battling once again with what is his teammate Craig Shield for iRacing side. They're behind Owen Halliday, still fighting for P5 in the silver class. These drivers, as their fight continues to make its way on around the circuit, none of them are giving one another any breathing room whatsoever as they make the way on towards turn number 8, roaring the way down into the braking zone. It looks like Dobie right now being made to wait behind Shield. But we do know the AT Tech drivers, they love battling each other, as meanwhile Owen Halliday there once again struggling to get the power down smoothly coming out of turn 8. It was previously turn 10, and well, that's cost him a bit of a run, but Shield and Dobie not quite able to find a way around the wayward Rexy machine and the Noel Pointers car right now, really struggling for traction. I think those rear tyres may be very high in temperature, and that's just cost him the ability to get the throttle. But you can see Sean Dobie getting too close at the wrong time, and therefore not able to look for the move. So they make their way down the start-finish line straight. It's going to move up the inside there for Shield, and also for what will be Dobie. And I think Halliday might be backing off slightly. In fact, it's going to be an error from Dobie that sees him go deep, and it's going to cost him a place. As meanwhile, and Halliday gets very close to the rear there of Craig Shield and breaking into turn 2. I think there was a small tap between them, but no drama. But the point being that Owen Halliday trying to recover, but Craig Shield saying no you don't, and taking that P5 in the silver class as Halliday looks up the inside. Shield gives him the space, thinking there might be a lunge going. Owen Halliday really the master of feinting lunges as both drivers are going slightly out the corner. Here comes Humberstone up behind as Craig Shield right now for Paul Rex out of 4. Halliday on the right of your picture as they head into the braking zone, and in the end it's too wide through the client chicane. But whilst they give each other small space in the end, it's not going to work out for Halliday. But Glenn Humberstone now looks down the outside down through turn number 6. They're going to be on the inside for Tlaman box at 7. But will he be able to go all in? He does so. He gets a nose ahead. Can he get it stopped in time? He can, and Glenn Humberstone with an absolutely brilliant move on the braking takes P16 for AT Racing, P16 silver, and now goes hunting after Craig Shield and the sister team. But meanwhile, we've got to look back to the front because the battle is on, not just between Walker and Hammer, but here comes Patrik Thomsen around the outside. And as the camera pans round, Thomsen has gone round the outside for P2, and Hammer I think has been caught out. We'll need to get a replay of exactly how that move played out shortly. But Patrik Thomsen has moved into P2, and now Philipp Hammer's got to play the game of cat and mouse where he's the cat and Will Thomsen's going to be the mouse, but he's a very fast mouse at that, and I think Thomsen's got his own aspirations of chasing after Walker for the win with 10 minutes to go. We'll say in that 9 minutes plus the final lap, and as they make their way through the Atalon box chicane, well, meanwhile we get a quick replay of exactly how that move was made by Thomsen versus Hammer through at turns 1 through to 4. In fact, we take a look back at the replay here, starting from turn 2 to 3, and Hammer had tried to move through 2 and 3. It didn't work out, and he had to back off, and then Thomsen going around the outside. There was contact between the two of them, a small degree of contact, but we're looking back from Ryan Walker's car, and in the end, Walker just simply backing the two of them into each other to fight each other, and that's exactly what you've got to do when you're not the fastest driver out there, but you're leading. You've got to get the other drivers who are closed up behind you to fight each other hard, and that is the only way some days you're going to be able to make it count. But meanwhile, whether it's Ryan Walker, Patrik Thomsen or David Biggerdike further down the order who have taken your fancy, ladies and gentlemen, votes for your driver of the day are now open. Link available in the YouTube and Twitch chat. Regardless of what platform you're on, you can vote. It's a Google form at 3 clicks and you're able to cast your vote. And we did talk about who was your driver of the day from what was VIR last time out, and it was none other than what was this man, Connor Craven for Olympus Esports Vulcan, currently P2 in the silver class here, P11 overall with 70% of the vote, the highest margin we've ever seen a driver take driver of the day. Congratulations to him, and we'll do cast your vote for this week's driver of the day at Circuit Zolder, and we'll try to remember to announce it midway through qualifying, but if not, we promise you it will be announced in the race. But meanwhile, we've got to announce here that Glenn Humberstone looking at the inside of Craig Shield there for his P15 overall, P5 in the silver class. These two battling back and forth and will not giving each other any ground whatsoever. And Owen Halliday trying to get into the mix here as they make the way on through in towards turn number 1. Halliday looking to the inside but too far back to try and make a move. That's only going to cost him time under braking. But meanwhile we look back to the leaders here, the overall and gold class leaders, as they make the way on through turn number 8 into 9. It's a move coming from Patrik Thomsen as Walker goes deep at 8, but now it's going to be a drag race up towards 10, but Walker has one advantage. He's on the inside, but can he get it stopped on a dime here as Thomsen looks down the outside? It's the battle of the anchors as they make the way through. Thomsen's not giving in as they make the way too wide out of the chicane. And Thomsen have a bit of power oversteer. He tries to get the power down, but the car's not got the tyre life. And here comes Hammer in the rear of the pitch on the left-hand side, tucking into the toe of Walker. Walker gives the toe to his German rival, and that's going to get the German and the Dane to battle each other through turn number 1. And Hammer looks around the outside, but Thomsen says no. And as they make the way into turn number 2, Walker right now getting the two titans of this grid today to fight each other tooth and nail, and just keeping them behind as they make the way through turns 2 and 3. But Thomsen is not going to give in. He gets back ahead of Hammer as they head through turn 4, and as they make the way on towards the Kleiner chicane, we've still got another 7 minutes to go, and this is absolutely golden racing. Our gold class drivers, excuse the pun, it's not meant, but right now what is meant to be potentially today, could this be Ryan Walker's first ever overall gold class win? To do it, he's held off Hammer, he's got to hold off Thomsen, and Thomsen's coming back as they make the way down through turn 6, in towards 7 they go, onto the brakes, all 4 drivers, and as we ride on board and look back for your race leader once again, well, right now the suspension bouncing around, as off camera we hear that Owen Halliday has had to come into the pits due to a major incident. The car's being repaired, but from the null pointers update coming to the satellite racing machine on our screens right now, Will Thomsen not as close this time, can't look for a move, but Walker definitely having to fight with tyre life given the mistake that was made at this corner last lap. But then again the tyres will be feeling the pressure for Thomsen and Hammer. And I can imagine with that power oversteer coming out of turn 10, Thomsen's rear tyres right now maybe needing a cool down lap in order to be in the zone, but can he afford to cool them down as time is gradually ticking away? We've still got a few laps to go, approximately 4 more laps including the one they've just gone on to, and as they make the way onwards towards the timeline, it's still Walker at the top, followed by Hammer and then Darragh inside the top 4. Corey Lazarus now up to P5, having started from P21, 16 places gained today in this race, and that is an absolute achievement. In fact, it's the most places ever gained by a driver in a single race. So you can bring it home, he'll take a record home with him for a blackout OPR. But meanwhile, Emil Koopmans a bit further back in P6, not on camera. Walker being under pressure into turn 4. It's going to be Thomsen looks up the inside, but can't quite find it. They're trying to get into Walker's head, trying to get him to miss his braking point, but Walker's not falling for it. And here comes Hammer once again, with Thomsen having to back off on the exit of 4 to avoid the contact with Walker. Hammer's all over the back. Tim Darraght's there now as well as they make the way on the rise, and as they do over Butter Corner and in towards turn 6 they go down the hill. Well, they've got some traffic in front of them. That'll be Owen Halliday, recently emerged from the pit, steps aside, blue flags waving. Halliday parks up. They're showing great respect and awareness. Credit to Halliday. It's painful to do, but we absolutely love him for it, and we'll be getting a pat on the back for all these drivers after the race today as they make the way over the rise and down towards turn number 8 once again. All carrying to go defensive as they head in towards the hairpin, making sure to take that classic line. He's going to drag the car at its heels through turn number 8 here, and Will Thomsen gets a face for the rear of the satellite racing machine as they head on through towards turn number 10, and we'll park it on Apex is something you can do regularly, but Thomsen right now looks back to the inside, can't quite find it, tucks onto the racing line. Walker keeping them all together once more as we ride on board with Patrik Thomsen here as the Dane right now, he's throwing everything at this bar, the kitchen sink to use the proverbial pun, and as they make the way down towards turn number 1, what can he do? 4 minutes left. Walker seems absolutely infallible right now. Well, Thomsen gets an absolutely lines roll of a run, go through turn 1, look into the outside to turn 2, clearly setting up a cutback run here through 2 into 3. Walker slows it down on Apex, however, Thomsen's going to look around the outside, and as they make the way off through the corner, we stay on board for a brief moment before looking at the exterior cameras, and it's going to be Thomsen who looks around the outside. Has he got the grip? No, he hasn't. The car goes deep. He runs to the gravel. Walker gets back ahead. Here comes Hammer. Here comes Darragh. It's 2 by 2 as they make the way down towards the chicane. Hammer switches to the inside. Can he get the move of Walker? No, he can't, but Darragh's head to Thomsen as well. Thomsen loses 2 places for the attempt at 1, and as they make the way up the rise in towards Butter Corner, the top 6 now stands all together. It's only 1.5 seconds separating 6 drivers as they make the way in towards turn number 7. The rear disc are going red hot on Hammer's car. I'm sure they are, and all of them right now, and this is absolutely boiling hot racing here as they make the way out to 7 on towards 8. Walker still holding on, and Hammer right now the next man to try and take on the Scotsman, but has he got any life left? Can he find a way to get under the armour of Wes Walker? As meanwhile Thomsen now has to try and battle his way back past not just Hammer, but also Darracott, who was very sly and sneaking up the inside, coming out to 4. But as they make their way onwards towards turn number 10, well, right now it's all going to be about with 2 more laps of racing here. These drivers have been absolutely fantastic, no doubt about it. Which one of them is bringing home the win? Who's going to be on the overall gold podium? We're staying with this battle all the way to the end, ladies and gents, but given the fact most of the battling elsewhere in the field has calmed down, and I'm sure you're going to be very happy to hear that as they make their way on through turn 1. We're staying with this all the way to the end now as they roar their way through in towards 2. But as they do so, Emil Koopmans right at the back of this group for Effect Simulations, the Dutchman here. He'll be looking at the back and perhaps thinking, will there be an opportunity to gain not just one but multiple places? Should the drivers in front of him have a major error or instant with one another? It can happen here, given the fact how hard they're all working against one another. But as they make the way on down, Walker and a poor runner out of turn 4, ran wide, and Hammer here is going to have the best opportunity he's had in a while. But Walker in the end will just drag the car in the middle of the road and say to Hammer, well, you can put it on the outside, but we're not going anywhere. And as they make the way over 6, well, Hammer this time says, yes, we are, as he comes on down for a left hand, and Walker's going to go defensive on the inside into Salaman. But this is going to be a hard defense to make, but it's even harder to attack around the outside there for Hammer. But he tries to pounce on Walker, but Walker doesn't give in as the elbows get out there, and Walker right now making this Porsche incredibly wide, but there's no pace left in the car as he comes out of 7, and now it's all about just simply going defensive every corner as they head down to turn 8. Hammer around the outside. Can Walker hold on here? It's too wide of the exit of 8, and as they make the way to drag race now through 9, but Hammer gets the power down, he takes the lead, and the Impulse Racing driver now has one more lap ahead of him, and Walker starts to wilt. It's going wrong right at the end, it would seem, as Philipp Thomsen goes up the inside. It's a double pass. Patrik Thomsen comes roaring on through, and out of nowhere moves a P4 to P2 in what could be a contender for move of the season as the white flag waves, and as it does, there's more to come as Tim Darracott falls back to P5. His teammate Emil Koopmans right behind him, and as they make their way through left-hander in towards turn number 2, well, right now, will there be an exchange between the teammates, or will they stay where they are? Well, you can imagine right now they may be discussing it on the team radio. Meanwhile, Walker down to P3 as Thomsen making that absolutely incredible move, and well, we would take a look back and a replay at it, but we won't right now given the racing that's going on. And as they make their way through turn number 4, Corey Lazarus now looking for an opportunity to try and dethrone Walker from the podium, but Walker's going to try, and I believe this would be his first ever overall and gold podium with it, ladies and gentlemen. So Walker's still playing for first here today as the car goes deep for the chicane. And as he does so, makes his way through, he's going to go defensive over the rise, but Lazarus has got the overspeed here, he puts a corner, and I think it's all starting to fall away as Walker goes deep on the brakes, gets the car stop, his contract with Thomsen. Thomsen's turned around, the Effect Simulation drives both coming to the scene of the instant, the seas are parted, Matt Strand as well, also there comes Daniel Sedgey. It's absolute pandemonium at Talama Boxers. Meanwhile, Strand falls back to P8, Sedgey comes on through, but as they do it over towards turn number 8, you couldn't predict this, and an error in the end from what was Thomsen, also Walker, and Effect Simulations just coming into the scene of the instant, and here is Sedgey on the inside of Walker, squeezing his way on through and taking P6, as aggressive as dared to dream to do so. But meanwhile, as we look to your race leader, ladies and gentlemen, he's had to do it the hard way today, but he's done it, and as he heads towards the line, Philipp Hammer returns to winning ways, taking the overall gold win in round number 3 of the season. My wood is 5 seconds to the end over Corey Lazarus, who returns to the podium for Blackout OPR P2. Tim Darracott third place on the podium ahead of Patrik Thomsen, with Daniel Sedgey P5, Ryan Walking in P6 ahead of David van der Waals, then Emil Koopmans and Matt Strand P8, P9, but both into the pits. I think they may be demoted down the order, and David Biggerdijk, I think that's a P8 for David Biggerdijk. In fact, the privateer and your silver winner, double winner today, head of Connor Craven, who returns to P2 in the silver class, P11 overall, gaining places all the way, and then it will be Daniel Weston who takes his first podium of the season in the silver class, with a P12 for DCW Racing, and a great drive, a consistent drive, having started all the way down the order in the number 21. Paul Halliday, meanwhile, will be bringing on home what will be P13, fourth place in the silver class. In front of him, brother Owen Halliday, a lap down P18, and Glenn Humberstone will complete his run to P14, P5 in the silver class at 8 Racing, head of Bruno Batica, who in the end fought his way through, but a late error and run into what was, I do believe, the pits, costing the old dudes and cars driver dear. And then we can see Craig Shield just going on through behind him, and then Sean Dobie will be your last lead lap finisher. After 22 starters, there will be 18 finishers, 17 of them on the lead lap, and the 8 Racing Cyan drive being the last to do so, and definitely a dramatic day of racing from what is the 8 Racing Cyan team. Not quite going the way, and Sean Dobie in the end picking up the result there, P17 or P7 in class. But goodness me, ladies and gentlemen, as Philipp Hammer just gradually winds the car down, making his way through turn number 10 once again here. I think right now he's going to be absolutely trembling from that batting, and to be fair, it takes a lot to unsettle Philipp Hammer, but I think this may have just been the race where he's finally been brought out of his comfort zone to go for the win, and the Impulse Racing drive doing it in style in the end, but being made to work the hard way. As meanwhile, Olympus Esports, David van der Waals, and also Connor Craven, they're coming on through. Connor Craven, of course, P2 in the silver class, Van der Waals P7 in the gold class. A good result for the pair, and well, they'll both be happy with that. And the Olympus Esports Vulcan driver will be pleased to know he's returned to the podium after the difficulties of what was race number 2, but coming on through and doing it all the same in race number 3, or round 3 we should really say, or a second race of the day. As drivers come into the pit lane, goodness me, we need to catch our breath, but also what we must do before we do think about taking you through those results is take a look back at Patrik Thomsen's double move for what was, of course, the lead of the race a little bit earlier on. But not the lead of the race, I should say, for P2, and that was in turn number 8, and I do believe this is the replay, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, not quite as we look to the Apex Race Academy drive. In fact, this was the move. We correct ourselves again, and what a 2-for-1 pass up the inside there into turn at number 10. And let's take a look back at that from the on-board of Patrik Thomsen. And this could be the move of the season. Let us know in the chat if you think so. Braking that 100-meter board. In fact, the drivers in front of both braking much earlier. I think Walker braking earlier than was anticipated for Hammer, and Thomsen with cat-like reflexes there, just jumping into P2. But in the end, it wasn't quite to be. In fact, that was Tim Darroch, but not Philipp Hammer. Hammer's up the road there as we get our bearings right, but Patrik Thomsen all the same. An absolutely legendary move, and in all that chaos in the end, goodness me, there was some absolutely epic moments of racing indeed. But as we now return back to your live picture circuit, so indeed the circuit has calmed down. Let's take you through those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries, and here they are. So after 30 minutes of racing in round 3 of the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup Season 10, brought to you here today on iRacing at Circuit Zolder, Philipp Hammer taking the win for Impulse Racing by 5.1 seconds over Blackout OPR's Corey Lazarus. But I think that 5 seconds isn't quite what the reality was in terms of all the batting. Hammer in the end picking the right time to get ahead and being able to break away, and Corey Lazarus avoiding all the drama, and the New Zealander in the end find his way through to a deserved P2. Daniel Sedgwick P3 for Olympus Esports Titan, round off the overall and the gold podium. And what a drive there for him ahead of David van der Waals for Olympus Esports Titan. And well, goodness me, ladies and gentlemen, there's even more drama in these results. And if you're wondering why you're suddenly seeing David Big Light promoted to P5, remember we had 2 drivers come into the pits at the end of the race before they took their checker flag. And also, I believe we've had multiple post-race penalties attributed by the automated iRacing shielding system for what was instant point counts being breached. And well, if so, it means that David Biggerdyke is not only going to take his first double win of the season, he's also going to take his first overall top 5 of the season, and will the privateer be absolutely pleased with the absolute haul of points he's picked up as your silver winner in this race, ahead of Connor Craven, who takes P6 there, 2nd place silver for Olympus Esports Vulcan, and then your 3rd place silver finisher of Daniel Weston for DCW Racing. Absolutely brilliant from our silver podium finishers there, a bigger like Craven and Weston, no doubt about it. Tim Darroch got P8 for Effect Simulations, I believe demoted down there after the race times are reaccounted for with regards to the post-race penalties, and Ryan Walker, he'll take P6 in the gold class in the end, and will the satellite race driver he may be for some the driver of the day, you know, hard he had to fight, and if only there was 1 lap less to race, or could it have been a podium for Ryan Walker if not the win? Well, we'll never quite know. That's a big what if question, but he put on an absolutely brilliant defence to the Scotsman, and there's no doubt about it, and he'll be gutted to miss out on the podium. Paul Halliday P10 net in what was a top 10 finish for the no pointers driver overall, but more importantly P4 for him in the silver class, some good points on the board. Then Patrik Thomsen P11 best the rest at Apex Racing Academy, ahead of Matt Strand for Race Lab Esports, and well, from them Glenn Humberstone, Bruno Batika and Craig Schill completing your top 15. Behind the A-Tech Racing Cyan driver Emil Koopmans P16 for Effect Simulations, and then Sean Doby, your last lead lap finisher, P17 for A-Tech Racing Cyan. and what was for him as well, P7 in the silver class. Owen Halliday, P18, a lap down. And as we come to your final finishers, we'll finish in 10 laps down the end, Alistair Hatcher, but with 20 laps completed, it will mean that Alistair Hatcher will be classified as your last race finisher, as he did complete over half the race distance. And then retirees and non-finishers from the race, Alistair Pollock for ATET Racing Cyan, Joe Duton for the wrong stuff, and James Parker only was able to do 2 laps and starting from the pit lane with a technical issue. Wasn't to be his day today, and indeed a frustrating day for the 1-2-5 driver. But that concludes all of our racing here at the Zolder circuit, ladies and gentlemen. And well, before we step away to get ready for our post-round interviews, do not forget to vote for your driver of the day. And we're going to post the driver of the day voting form once again. It's there in the respective YouTube or Twitch chat that you're tuning in via. It's a quick and easy Google form link, 3 clicks, and you'll be able to set your vote. And we will announce the winner of the driver of the day next week when we do go racing in what will be rounds 4 and 5 at the one and only Road America circuit. And we'll try and remember to do that in qualifying. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to step away for approximately 10 to 12 minutes to get ready for our post-round interviews. Don't go anywhere, because I'm sure they're going to be electrifying and you won't want to miss them. We'll see you very shortly, but just before we do, of course, step away, we'd just like to also say that if you've been enjoying the racing today and you've been a subscriber of the UKSimRacing YouTube channel or the Twitch channel, and if you've ever wondered how you can further support UKSimRacing, did you know there's a quick way to do so via our affiliates? Because UKSimRacing is affiliated with multiple motorsport companies, both in the sim racing and real world, and that does include Swelly Media Sim Racing Coaching. Also, there was Race Anywhere and Demon Tweaks. And if you do head to our website, that's uksimracing.co.uk today, and there is on screen for you, where there's a link to our Discord in the top right corner. Now, if you join the official UK Sim Racing Discord via that link, it's for 2 good purposes. Firstly, if you ever want to be on the grid of any of our series, it's a mandatory requirement, so that way you can stay up to date with all the latest information regarding your series, but also be abreast of what is the key safety briefings before each and every week of racing. But the second purpose, perhaps more relevant to today, is the fact that on the UK Sim Racing Discord, our affiliates provide discount codes which are only available on our Discord. And if you use one of those codes as part of your purchase, it puts you in pole position to receive a discount. And the fantastic thing about that is the fact that at UKSimRacing we receive a kickback from your purchase, but because we are a non-profit organisation, it's a win for the whole community, because every penny and pound made from affiliate purchases is invested into funding future series, including future renditions of the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup, the GT3 League, and plenty more we have planned over the course of 2024 and onwards, including the MX5 Endurance League that's also ongoing, and well, you never know what could be around the corner. Could we even see a return of the GT4 League? All that and more, and well, do remember a little purchase can go a long way in supporting UK Sim Racing, but right now a good breather could go a long way in getting us set up for our post-round interviews. So we will see you in 10 to 12 minutes time. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen, because they're coming up soon. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is time for our post-round interviews. And tonight we're going to be hearing from a 50-50 split of our silver and gold class drivers. We're going to be starting off with perhaps one of our undersung heroes of today in the silver class, being David Biggerdike, who took pole position in class and the wins in both races. We'll come into the gold class for Corey Lazarus of Blackout OPR, who had misfortune in our heat race, but turned it all the way around from P21 on the grid to take second place overall and in class in the feature. Then we'll go back to the silver class for Craig Schill, who enjoyed plenty of battling for 8-tit races sign today. We'll come into Ryan Walker in the gold class for Satellite Racing. Wasn't quite able to bring home the win or the podium in the feature race, but he can tell us the story and all the more about his race today. But joining me in the interview room now, ladies and gentlemen, is none other than David Biggerdike. Good evening to you, David, and what a day of racing for yourself. I mean, for many outside, you didn't get too much camera time given the fact you were in control throughout the entire day, pole position in class, and then the wins in both races. A huge points haul to add your third place from VIR last week.
Yeah, can't complain at all. Very, very happy with that. It was definitely the feature race. The first 10 minutes, I'm not sure I like that reverse grid because you've got a lot of fast guys coming past you. You kind of have to manage the traffic like you're in a multi-class race. The speed difference was that much.
Oh, indeed. And, well, coming on to the circuit itself, it looks like Circuit Zolder is a circuit which really goes well for yourself, or at least it seems to be a circuit which you enjoy. Would I be correct in that?
I don't know if I enjoy it because of the off tracks, but it's a track that if you have a lap time that you know you can stick to and you just drive patiently, that it works for you. I think it's very easy to attack the curbs too hard here and have some incidents. The same with kind of overtaking. There isn't many spots to do it, so you just have to kind of plan it and wait for people to make mistakes. But luckily, I didn't have too much of that to do with the kind of pole position's the best place to be on this track.
Oh, without a doubt. And let's talk a little bit about that pole position. In the end, half a second faster than anybody else in class. And those pesky track limits always catching drivers out, but not yourself. You seem to find a way to weave and wind your way through to get the exact lap you needed for pole.
Yeah, that's something I was working on, trying to avoid those off tracks because like you said, qualifying is so important here. So it was just about trying to find a fast lap time without being too far on the edge. Because if you overdrive, like you said, those track limits pop up very quickly, and that's qualifying done then.
And with the Challenger qualifying, of course, only 3 laps available to you in a 12-minute period. 12 minutes sounds like a long time until you recognise just how many laps you actually have available. Did you pick up a particular strategy, or was it just go out there with plenty of fuel and feel the car get lighter and put the better lap times in?
I just fueled the car. I think it was my second lap, which was my fastest, because I had an off track on my third one when I was going faster. I got a little bit greedy on one of the corners, so yeah, that didn't go. But yeah, my plan was just to fuel up and go with it. Because like you said, you can soon run out of time if you're doing kind of one lap hits here and there. So.
Well, it was the right approach, and with it, pole position. And then we go into the races. Let's start with the heat race. The heat race definitely seems to be quite the back and forth between yourself and some of your rivals around you going into turn number 1. But come at the end of the first lap, leading the way, and it seemed as though, despite the pressure of your peers, you weren't going to falter.
No, it's just about kind of getting in the lead, and then because it's so difficult to overtake here, you can drive a bit more patiently. I think it was Alistair behind me for most of the sprint race, and he was always within a second, so having to look in the mirror from time to time, but managed to do what I needed to do.
Oh, indeed, with Alistair Pollock having a difficult start to the race, it was the other Alistair Hatcher, who would keep chasing you throughout, and well, in the end, the two of you separated by what was a margin of half a second at the checkered flag. And I have to ask, with that 12-minute race, were there any sort of signs that the tyres might be taking quite a bit of a beating given the chicanes and the sweeping corners?
I didn't feel it too much in the sprint race, to be honest. I definitely started to feel it towards the end of the feature race, but within the sprint race, the tyres still felt all right.
And coming on to the feature race, with the fact you finished P9 in the heat, it meant that you'd be starting P2 on the grid, joined by Alistair Hatcher on pole. It's a very rare place to have silvers locking out the front row. Indeed, I think it's the first time in the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup's history we've had that combination. How did that make you feel knowing you'd be on the front row with 8 gold drivers behind you?
It's not very fun, if I'm honest. you notice from the sprint race, there's quite a gulf in the times. I think they were a good like 6-7 seconds up the road by that point, by the end of the sprint race. So I knew they were faster. So my kind of tactic was to be very careful and kind of let them by in places. There's no point battling them because they're definitely faster than you.
We did see that as the racing got underway, although it looked as though it could have potentially been a free wide into turn one, given the launch from Ryan Walker at the start. But in the end, he seemed to find a way just to get up the inside of Alistair Hatcher, but not yourself. And then, like you say, we did see you gradually let the gold pack charge on through. And from that point onwards, it seemed to be quite a gradual race running around in what was at the time, a run of P8 and then gradually down to P10. But as the race went on, I have to ask, how did the car feel as it was getting lighter, but also, like you said, those tyres started to wear away?
Definitely the last kind of 5 to 10 minutes, you could feel mainly on the acceleration out of the corners, you could feel the tyres be a bit more slippery. But luckily I had a 5-second gap to Connor behind, so I was able to just set myself a lap time and stick to it.
I see, and as I was just taking a sip of water there, my next question would be off of the back of that in terms of taking your time and knowing there wasn't too much pressure emerging from behind with Conor Craven in the end carving his way through to take P2 in the class. Come the checkered flag, we saw that you were leading by the best part of 4 seconds. But I also have to ask, did you expect that you'd be promoted to a P5 finish overall after the flag had fallen?
No, I had no idea. I was a bit tight on instant points myself. I think I picked up 9 in the first lap just from a couple of gold drivers nudging me because of the pace difference, and it gave me 2 4Xs, and then I had an off track. So I had to be quite careful of my own off tracks. But obviously that's the danger here. When you've only got 15 instant points, they soon rack up. So no, I didn't expect P5, so I can't complain.
Well, indeed, a huge result for yourself, not just in class, but also overall. And it's the first top 5 for yourself in your UKSimRacing Porsche Cup career when it comes to those overall results. And, well, massive points day, a good start to the season at VIR. Everything seems to be looking up. And in a week's time, it's 2 rounds of racing at Road America. How are you feeling for them?
Yeah, it's good. It's a track I've done a fair bit on. I think the last time I raced there was a GT3, though, so it's getting that kind of sight picture of the Porsche with the lack of downforce that's slightly different around there. But no, looking forward to it. Everything seems to be going quite well at the moment.
Oh, most definitely. You've got quite the fan group as well in the YouTube chat. It must be said, and glad to see so many people cheering you on there, including Samuel Barber. And not just with regards to Road America, but also as this season goes on. I mean, we've seen you as one of the veterans of the grid, taking the fight to a number of newcomers in the silver class, including Conor Craven. The fact that we've got some new blood on the grid, from your perspective, how much has it shaken up the level of racing?
It's nice to see different people coming through. I've only actually done 1 complete season and then a couple of races in other seasons at tracks I like. So this is like the first time where I'm proper putting into a season, because I just like the look of the track list, and I've been working on my driving style and being a bit more patient rather than being a bit of a hothead, which I maybe was guilty of in the past.
Well, that patience is definitely proving rewarding. And, well, we talked a little bit about Road America. And just before I do let you go, David, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast tonight?
Just thank you to the UKSR for organising. I'm in a gaming group, EFF Gaming, as well. They do a lot of other bits and bobs. None of them race, but maybe they will after they see this. And my partner's got me some rum, I think, now. So there's a celebration.
Oh, absolutely fantastic. It may not be champagne, but a glass of rum never goes too far astray. David, it's been a pleasure. Congratulations on your dominant run today. And indeed, I think what was a grand slam. Every lap led in the races, and also what was pole position in qualifying. You couldn't ask for better. We look forward to plenty more at Road America. But until then, have a fantastic rest of your evening.
Thanks, Paul. You too.
So hearing it there from David Biggerdike, your silver class star today, no doubt about it. The privateer absolutely leading the way. And interesting to hear his perspective, firstly, on the enjoyment of the circuit feeling good at this circuit, but not a fan of it given the pesky track limits. But still, that pace definitely showing itself in qualifying with a half-a-second pole position advantage, albeit that not really translating into too much on the grid, given the fact they don't start separated by those margins. But in at the end, David being able to get the launch in up the heat race and never looking back. When it went wrong for Alistair Pollock, it was Alistair Hatch who tried to take the fight to Big and Ike, but it was not to be. And indeed, in the end, our number 23 driver bringing it on home in a controlled sprint race. And we're going into the feature race. The nervousness about starting on the front row alongside another silver driver with 8 gold drivers behind. The nervousness never quite getting to him. And after Ryan Walker had essentially cleaved the 2 silver drivers apart from one another, and where it was David who picked up the better start by comparison with his rival, it was only going to go one way, and that was stay in the lead, but let the gold drivers on through. And a patient and tactical approach is what has enabled the privateer today to pick up back-to-back wins, and what has been a perfect night. And well, he's looking forward to Road America, albeit the change of low downforce he was mentioned there with the fact long straight and a rather limited number of heavy braking zones will make for an interesting contrast compared to today. But given the pace David Big Like has shown, I get the feeling he could have just announced himself as the early favourite in the silver class for this season. But now coming on to our second interview, ladies and gentlemen, very shortly we're going to be hearing from the gold class driver of Corey Lazarus as he gets ready to join me in the interview room. And well, as he does so, we'll be hearing his story and with regards to the recovery drive in race number 2 after what was a very difficult race number 1. But also we'll get to hear from the driver who, on the other side of the world, as he does join me now in the early hours of the morning. Good morning to you, Corey. And well, what a challenging day of racing for yourself. Qualifying seemed to go okay. The heat race all went wrong and saw you finish right towards the back. And in the feature race, all the way back to the front for a P2 finish. I bet you can't quite believe it.
Yeah, good morning, Paul. Yeah, it was a pretty handy result. Pretty happy, pretty satisfying in the feature. Obviously got some help along the way. Brian did a mega job to sort of defend his way to the end there, and unfortunate for the other guys at the last chicane on the last lap. It was a tough one to take for a lot of those guys.
Well, without a doubt. But coming to yourself and qualifying, of course, qualifying being so pivotal here at the circuit, Zolder, and with 8th place on the grid, we saw it was very tight in the gold class of the top 10. Albeit the laps of the top 3 started to break away to a degree, but you find yourself right in the mid-pack. How do you feel your qualifying went?
It was an absolute shocker. I bought Zolder last Saturday, so I put a fair bit of work into it all week after never driving it before, and got my pace up reasonably well leading into the event, and just had an absolute shocker. I had a strategy for quali and it went well up until the final hot lap, and it sort of just rolled into the first race, had an absolute mare off the line, fell way back, and then just capitulated from there, lost composure, had a real shocker.
Oh, indeed, and we did see that race start where the car just didn't seem to want to get off the line, or at least at the pace you wanted it to, and then the instant going through into what was turn at number 4. But still, you kept your head down and kept pushing on to bring the car home in the end, which is always what it's about, and guaranteeing yourself that slot on our second grid of the day. And well, let's talk a little bit more about the positives. A P21 start, but by the end of the first couple of laps, already halving your gap to the leaders.
Yeah, I got lucky. I think on lap 2 there was a bit of a melee early on in the lap, which sort of dropped a few guys out, and just tried to be careful and just make some passes, and it sort of eventuated that way, and the guys that were battling up front sort of backed everybody up a little bit. So I had a lot of luck along the way, and just quickly I need to apologise to Alice there in that first race. It was an unfortunate incident, so sorry to him. But yeah, in that second one just got a little bit of luck early on, and the sea sort of parted and made some places early.
Well, making that ground, and then coming on to really what was the final 15 minutes race, that second half where we got to see Ryan Walker backing up the gold class more and more, and yourself being able to close up. I mean, at some point it was always going to get contentious between our drivers in the batting. You were right towards the back of that group when it all started to build up, and then you managed to zigzag your way through to that P2. I mean, it must feel as though it went by in a flash now.
Yeah, it really did feel like it went by in a flash, 'cause every lap I'm coming around and I'm looking at the relative, just praying that Ryan would stay there up front, knowing, you know, the speed that was behind them. If they had got away early, they would have just probably pulled away. No disrespect to Ryan, but those guys are pretty fast. So, yeah, approaching the lead pack towards the end, I still had a lot of incident points up the sleeve. Managed to look after them really early, and due to the fact of having to drive a little bit slower coming through the field, the tyres were great towards the end. So just got really fortunate that we had the tyres and the incident points in the last couple of laps and managed to stick it out.
Oh, without a doubt. And we do know you as a bit of a tyre whisperer in this field in terms of making the car last longer on those tyres compared to most. And that really coming into benefit. And, well, with regards to these chicanes here as well, we did see a number of overtakes being made by yourself and other drivers. I mean, it's not impossible to overtake at Zolder, but take us through from your perspective the amount of speed and the braking advantage you've got to have to be able to go for a move.
It's really just dependent on the run the car in front of you gets. You know, the top 10 in this class here, if they hit their brake points and their turn-in markers, it's near impossible to make a pass here. So you're really just trying to capitalise on any of their mistakes. But it can be done with a little bit of courage, maybe winding the brake bias back a little bit and not locking up the fronts. But yeah, look, it's tight. It's a tight little track, really narrow at certain parts. So if the guys in front are not making mistakes, it does make it tough to pass.
Oh, no doubt about it. But still, you found your way through in the end and had a better feature race and some good points to be taken from it. And well, that's our first heat and feature combination. We now head back to the United States of America for Road America in a week's time for rounds 4 and 5. How are you feeling for a visit to the classical countryside circuit?
I'm looking forward to it because it's been a good start to the championship from last week into this week. Admittedly, Road America is definitely not my favourite track, but it won't stop me putting in the time and the practice and the effort to try and get a decent result. And I know there's some super quick guys that like that track, so yeah, under no illusion, it's going to be a tough week of practice and definitely a tough race next week. But yeah, looking forward to it.
And we look forward to see you rise to the challenge. But just before we do let you go, Corey, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast today?
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, a big congratulations to Philipp Hammer. He had a little baby girl apparently just yesterday or even this morning or something like that. So it's a life-changing event. Well done to Philip and Sandy. Good on them. My teammates Sam and Shep for the support, and yourself, Paul, and UKSR, and everybody behind the scenes that gets involved to help us out. Thanks very much.
Well, Corey, a huge thank you to you as well for joining us in the interview room. What a day it's been for yourself. Not perhaps the perfect result, but definitely a great way to end your race at Circuit Zolder. And we look forward to plenty more at Road America in a week's time. But until then, thank you once again and have a great rest of your day.
Same to you, Paul. Thanks very much, mate.
So hearing it there from Corey Lazarus, and what a mixed day of fortunes it has been today for the Blackout OPR driver, and really talking about a day that was split into 3 components, or 2 halves in fact, with qualifying going so very, very wrong. He picked the right strategy, he got all the strategy in place he mentioned, but when it came to execution on that final flying lap, it just did not work out, and that put him down in P8. He had the banker on the board, but not the lap he wanted, and we'll have no idea where it could have perhaps put him, but I get the feeling he was hoping for a top 5 as a minimum, given the pace that Corey has brought to the table time and time again. But from there, going into race number 1, we saw the incident between himself and a number of drivers, including what was Alistair Hatcher coming out of turn number 4. In fact, it was Alistair Pollock, my apologies. But the key point being is coming out of turn 4, the car to the wall, and well, that put him all the way to the back of the field. And in the end, P21 was what he could get out of the car after the incident. But still not to give up, went into the second race, knowing that the hard work was there, but just taking his time, cutting through the field, saving some fuel and saving some tyre life along the way. And then the fortune of Ryan Walker being able to back the leading gold pack up, and well, Corey was able to latch on to it and make the most of what was the chaos up front in order to sneak on through to P2 with the car in the prime condition. And that's sometimes what you've got to do when you've not had a great start today. You've got to end it on a high, and that's exactly what the 404 driver from Blackout OPR did today, and that's why he's never to be counted out, and we expect plenty more at Road America. But now coming on to our third interview, ladies and gentlemen, and of course, just before we do invite our third interview into the interview room, as you may have heard there from Corey, a mention to Philipp Hammer, who did mention after what was the conclusion of Season 9, he was expecting a new arrival in his family, and well, he's confirmed to us down in the paddock that he has had a little baby girl as of yesterday, as I'm to understand it, and well, congratulations. So in fact, I think that might be today, and well, either way, congratulations to the Hammer family and to Philip for his new arrival. I'm very happy to see him on the grid, and we'll hope all is well with mother and baby, of course. But we won't be hearing from Philipp Hammer this evening, but we will be hearing from Craig Schill as he gets ready to join us in the interview room. And as he does so, we're going to be hearing his story with regards to the battling that we saw between him and his teammates, and also fighting for a potential top 5 in the silver class in both races. But as he does join me now, good evening to you, Craig, and well, what a challenge day of battles for yourself in the silver class. I mean, I have to say, when we panned over to yourself, it looked as though you spent just as much time fighting with your teammates in a tit-tit race in Sion as you did with other rivals of the silver class. But we know you guys love it on the grid, and how was it for you?
Well, it just has to be done, doesn't it? When you've got a teammate anywhere near you, you've got to fight with him. So it's kind of like the trend now. Yeah, it went well. Bit annoyed with a few little mistakes I made, which cost me. But overall, I was happy with my pace.
Well, speaking of starting off on good pace, we did see from yourself P15 overall in qualifying, but more importantly P4 in class. It looked as though David Biggerdite was in a bit of a class of his own at the front, but then the gap between P2 through to yourself in P4 a lot tighter, and it looked as though the pace was coming in qualifying.
Yeah, I've always struggled with my qualifying pace. For some reason, I can't go straight out and do 2 laps fast and then stop. I tend to focus more on my race pace than I do my qualifying pace. It's something I do need to work on in the coming seasons, but it is getting there slowly, but it's still not where it needs to be. So yeah, I kind of like just put a banker lap in and then see if I can beat it and focus on the actual racing more than the qualifying.
When in a 10th clear of teammate Sean Dobie and only 4 tenths off a P2 driver Alistair Pollock. And when we did go green flag racing, it looked very nip and tuck into turn 1 in race number 1, with your teammate Alistair Pollock having a bit of a difficult start to the race. But for yourself, it seemed as though you fell back a little bit, but stayed clear of most of the drama.
Yeah, I got a good start off the line, which, to be fair, is a little bit unusual for me. I can't get this car going off the line. But for some reason, today I got it sorted and I managed to pull away pretty well. And then it was literally, I knew the first lap would be carnage, or could be carnage. So it was just about getting myself around the first couple of corners and trying to avoid any smashes and then just settle in. I didn't really worry about losing places on the first lap, because once I'm settled, I knew I could probably sneak them back somewhere along the lines.
Well, gradually trying to recover those places over the course of the race. And of course, the 12 minutes that we have available in our heat race, making a very tight race. And this circuit Zolder, not one that's that obliging when it comes to overtaking opportunities, but it looked as though, apart from the chicanes, you quite enjoy trying to go for moves in the sweepers and of course the turn 8 hairpin.
Yeah, it was the heat race. I was doing all right. I think I got up to about 12th or 11th or 12th, and had Alistair Hatcher on his return in front of me, and me and him were chatting on team radio like, we're not going to hit each other, don't hit me, don't do this. And we were literally just telling each other where we were going to place the car and where we were going to brake, so we didn't take each other out. And unfortunately, just the second chicane, I don't know what happened. I went into it probably a little bit too hot, and the back end just decided to come round on me, and that was that. That was me out of the top 3 of silver, which I wasn't too happy about, but that's racing. It's one of those things.
It was unfortunate, as we did see that spin towards the end of the first race of the day, but still, we know you're one not to give up. And then going into our second race, a P17 start, P15 finish, and moving up to P6 in the class. And this is where it seemed as though the elbows were really starting to get out between yourself and also what was Alistair Pollock and also Sean Dobie.
Yeah, me and Sean were having a bit of a laugh, because we found ourselves together with Owen Halliday in front, and it was turning into a right little fight. I think there was a 4-car like fight between, I think it was Paul Halliday, Sean, Daniel Weston, and myself. And I actually backed off before Daniel made his move because I kind of just had an inkling something was going to go wrong, and I just watched him plow into him. I was like, oh, all right, I'll take 3 places. I don't mind. Thank you very much. And then I made a good move on Owen at one point in the race going into turn 1. Just me and Sean both noticed he was slow coming out of some of the corners, and I think it was the last corner he was a bit slow out, and I almost rear-ended him. And it was at that point I was just like, no, I've got the power down. I've got to try and make a move because I'm not doing another lap of this. And luckily it worked. Sean tried to follow me through and ran a bit wide, and next thing I know, Glenn was there as well. So yeah, it was good racing. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I do enjoy battling with the team.
Indeed, it was fantastic battling, and that move from yourself where it all seemed to go wrong for the 3 drivers in front of you, and you snuck on through to gain what was 2 places for the price of 1 corner. I think many will agree with me in the respective chats. They loved to see that, a very calm approach from yourself. And as we came towards the end of the race, in the end, seemed as though the places to gain became fewer and fewer, and I suspect it might have been a little bit of an instant point limit starting to encroach towards 15.
I was actually, I think by the end of the race, I think I was sat on 8. So race 2, the feature race, I did quite well on the instance. Heat 1 was completely different. I think I was on 12. So race 1, I was trying to not get the instance. It's just I didn't have my practice pace. That I just couldn't get it down into where I was comfortable lap timing. So and like you say, we were pretty spread out, and I tried to hang on to the back of Glenn, even though he had damage, but he was on absolute rocket fuel, I think he had in that car. So it was just a case of keep it on the track and try and catch him and stay away from the guys behind, and pick up any places that come from bad luck from mistakes from the drivers.
Oh, well, those places gained all were valuable points going on through the season, and 3 rounds in, and it seems as though this silver class is absolutely alive with battling all around you, no doubt about it. Some new names mixing it up with veterans of the class. But of course, we're only 3 rounds in, and we've got plenty more to come, including Road America in a week's time for another 2 rounds of racing. How are you feeling for a visit back to the US of A?
I like Road America. We've been there in many leagues that I've done with 88 Tech, ranging from, I think we did GT3 there, I think we've done TCRs there. I've been around there in the Porsche many times, and I don't want to say it because I don't want to jinx myself, but I do tend to feel comfortable there. And I'm getting better the more I drive it over the seasons. So here's hoping I can continue what I've brought here, because I was a lot faster here than I was at VIR and last season. I just want to keep taking it and keep progressing further, and try and finish where I should have finished last season, which is up the top somewhere.
Well, we do look forward to seeing you take that pace to Road America, and well, like you say, not to jinx it, but if you're feeling confident there, I think we're all looking forward to seeing what exactly you can pull off in the silver class. But just before we do let you go, Craig, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast?
Yeah, I've got to give a thanks to my future stepson, because I struggle to get back from work in time to make the practice, so he always sits and makes sure that he gets me logged into the practice session so I can make qualifying. So big thanks, big shout out to Tyler for doing that for me. My family for putting up with losing me for hours on a Thursday night and Sunday night when I decide to practice, and obviously yourself for another great broadcast, and the 88 Tech lot for always making Thursdays a hell of a laugh.
Well, Craig, it's so great to hear that your family are supporting you, even if it's just making sure all the rigs are ready as soon as you get in to jump on and go racing, and also the family that you do have in the ATEC Tech racing team. And indeed, I don't think we could ask for a tighter community of racers other than the team you're racing in. But with that, it's been great to speak to you this evening. Congratulations on a great set of performances across all 3 sessions, and we look forward to plenty more at Road America. Until then, have a great rest of your evening.
Yeah, see you next week.
So hearing it there from Craig Shield in the silver class, and as his race comes to end on our replay footage and we start to see his progress through the silver field lessening and lessening as the race coming towards its closing point, an interesting night for our number 82 driver. I'm really talking there about the fact that in qualifying, normally not the strongest of qualifiers, but putting a good performance together today to take the P4 and working with that in the class, and then going into the heat race in the fact that wasn't quite the ultimate start that perhaps another driver could get, but happy with the fact a clean and safe start and then gradually pushing forward to take a P7 in class, a P17 overall. But knowing there were more places out there and there was also the pace to demonstrate it. And that's exactly where it came in the feature race, avoiding the carnage and chaos after what was the difficult end to his heat race with that spin which denied him a P3 finish. But in the feature race it's all about redemption and doing exactly that with some classic moves in 3- and 4-way fights with drivers, and with that memorable bit of patience going into turn number 2 and making sure to steer clear of other drivers getting it wrong under braking, but not for Craig Shield. And that's why it always makes him one of those drivers you've got to keep your eyes out for, because he is chasing those podiums. And it wasn't to be today, but could he be picking up another silver podium? The last one he picked up, I do believe, was back all the way in season 9, but could he pick one up at Road America, or perhaps even make it 2? Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's to be there next week to see how he does. But now coming on to our final interview, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to be hearing from what is Ryan Walker. For many today, the driver had it all to do and indeed had the weight of the world on his shoulders. And well, as we get ready to hear from the Scotsman, we'll be hearing the story. It was definitely been a tough day of racing, but also I think a day which he's going to be absolutely proud of as he does get ready to join me in the interview room. We'll also hear about his qualifying lap as he does join me now. Good evening, Ryan. And well, firstly, I do have to ask, how exhausted are you after that feature race? Well, I think you've been made to work harder than anybody else in the history of the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup for the best part of 15 minutes of racing.
Yeah, I'm completely drained after that, because that was probably the toughest defending I've had to do in the UKSR Porsche Cup. But I have to say as well, that was great fun, and it was good. It felt good to basically hold off Philip, Patrik and Tim, I think it was, for, I'm trying to think how long it was, about, I think it was the last 20 minutes or so.
Oh, most definitely. 20 minutes just having to keep your head down, and whether it was Philipp Hammer, Patrik Thomsen, or alternatively Tim Darracott, everybody trying to snap at your heels to take the lead. And we'll come on to that story a little bit later, but let's start off at the beginning and turn the pages. And we open on page 1 with qualifying with what was a P9 in class and overall. A solid qualifying performance from yourself, but it did look as though to try and get into that top 5 in the gold class, it was going to be tight, particularly at a circuit where those track limits are always waiting to take away your lap time.
Yeah, qualifying pretty much, excuse me, went according to plan. I think when I checked my optimal time, I think I had the sectors for a 30.2, which would have put me around about P4, P5 overall, I believe. But I think I just left some time on the table, but I just told myself just to basically keep it on track and keep it within the track limits, and just do a couple of laps and see where I ended up qualifying. And yeah, I was happy to end up qualifying P9 overall. So yeah, qualifying went better than expected.
Well, for that qualifying session, just to put our viewers in the frame of mind, the gap between Ryan and what was P6 to Matt Strand in the end wasn't even a tenth. It was only the best part of 300ths for 4 places, and then a further half a tenth for David van der Waals in P5. So going back to your point about that 30.2, Ryan, it would have put you, in fact, I do believe at P4 in the grid ahead of Emil Koopmans. So it wasn't quite to be there, but still, there was pace in the car, and you started to show it in the heat race over the 12 minutes, gaining 2 places and finishing in a comfortable P7.
Yeah, race 1 went better than expected. I mean, I got a good start off the line, and then I saw there was some mayhem in front of me into turn 2. I think it was Corey that got caught up with someone, or one of the front runners anyway. So gained a couple of positions, and then halfway through, or towards the end of the first race, I think it was Tim that was behind me. So he was slightly quicker than me, so I decided to maybe just let him go by since we had a decent gap behind us, and there was no point getting in a squabble and losing time to the cars behind. So I let him by, and then I was just chatting to him. He said he got to slow down towards the end of the first race, so basically he let me by, and then basically managed to finish in front of him and finish in P7. So I was happy with that. So it was a good way to kick off the evening.
Oh, it was, and I think we got to see a little bit of your defensive masterclass that was upcoming with your battle with James Parker in the heat race, who eventually found his way through, but he had to absolutely get his elbows out to find a way past you.
Yeah, I've raced. I haven't raced against him that much, but from the times I have, he's always been a sensible driver. So if he does make a move, it won't be anything silly. And I think when he made a move, I just decided to not make too much of a fight of it, and they just basically settle for a top 10 result. Like, I was inside the top 10 at the time, so I just thought just play it sensible and just finish and just pick up the points.
Well, the points gained in race number 1, and now we come on to our main event in the story, which was the feature race, starting from a P4 start, and by the end of the run to turn 1, already attacking for the lead. I mean, just take us through that race start. That alone was worth about 100 metres of distance on the grid.
Honestly, I never expected that start. I mean, I've never been good at starts, say, with the cup car. Plus, I don't have basically I don't have anything like a dual clutch, so getting the car off the line, it can be a bit tricky sometimes. So, but yeah, I was very surprised by the first lap, or the first couple of laps, really, to be honest. I mean, getting up to, I got up to 3rd place in turn 1 off the line, so I was quite surprised by that. And then lap 2, I managed to get by. It was one of the silver class cars. I think it was the David. I think I got by into turn 1. So basically, I wanted to try and get by him as quickly as possible, but without taking any silly risks. So as soon as I saw him brake early, I thought I'll just try and brake a little bit earlier and try and get by him. And then I think it was Alistair in front of me. He ended up having an issue in turn 1. He spun in front of me, and I had to avoid an accident. And then, excuse me, as soon as I got into the lead, I just basically tried to set some quick laps and just try and keep the gap to the slower guys behind. Well, not the slower guys, but basically the lesser quick guys behind me. Just try and build a bit of a gap before the likes of Philip and Patrick and Tim and Corey, I believe it was, caught up to me. And yeah, from then on, when they caught up to me, it was just a case of just trying to defend as much as possible, but without the block, and obviously just kind of just placing my car in the right places and just try and keep them behind. And yeah, keeping them behind for as long as I did, it felt really good, confidence wise.
Oh, without a doubt. And we got to see some absolutely thrilling racing led by your fantastic defensive driving for the best part of what was 20 minutes. And I mean, in the end, I think they threw everything in the book of overtaking at you, and you had an answer for it, whether it was looking around the outside or the inside into corners and making that Porsche wide. But I have to ask, from your perspective, I mean, using all the track, using all the width for the car, and the tyres, of course, wearing down, the brakes getting hotter and hotter, how did the car feel the more and more you were having to push it to the limit?
It didn't feel that bad, to be honest. I was actually quite surprised basically the tyres held on for as long as it did. But then again, I was just telling myself not to start pushing or overdrive and just look after the tyres, and I think towards the end of the race it definitely paid off. But I think I just had a sneaky feeling that it was just a matter of time before someone like Philip was going to try and make a move and try and make a move in a place that you wouldn't normally see a pass. And I think he into the last hairpin he tried a move on the outside, and I thought Philip was racing me fair, he was racing me clean, he wasn't trying anything silly. So if he makes a move, I'll do the same in return, and just basically leave some room. And he managed to hold it on the outside into the last hairpin, and he managed to pull the move off, and I have to give him credit for that. That was a great move, and credit to him for giving me a fair and clean battle.
Well, indeed, it was an absolutely clean battle. The definition of fantastic racing with the Porsche Cup machines. And then after Philipp had finally found a way to break down your armour with only one lap to go, it looked as though then it was the start of more doors to be opened for the like of Patrik Thomsen and company. But there was also quite a bit of drama on the last lap, which unfortunately you found yourself caught up in.
Yeah, I think I can't remember who it was that got by me. I think Patrick got by me heading into the last lap, and I think it was the exit of the first chicane. He ended up getting a slowdown, and I ended up messing up my exit on the exit of the first chicane. So Corey got a run in me. So I was still alongside Corey, and I thought I'll try and maybe just try and keep alongside him, but yeah, just basically missed my braking point slightly, and it ended up locking up into the second chicane, and ended up wiping Patrick out. So yeah, I've already apologised to Patrick, but understandably he's a bit frustrated. But it's one of those things. As I said to Patrick, I'm not stressing out about it. I apologised, and yeah, that's all I can do. But overall, I'm happy with how the evening went, and happy to get a top 10 in both races.
Well, definitely a deserved top 10 in both races. I mean, that podium is going to come once again, and one day that trip to what would be at the top step of the podium, I'm sure, is beckoning. I mean, we almost got to see that today, but it wasn't quite to be. But with regards to plenty more rounds to come, Ryan, of course, next week we head to Road America. How are you feeling for a return to the United States?
Yeah, I have to be honest, I've never ever done a Porsche Cup race around Road America. I've done plenty of the GT3 and GT4 racing, but the Porsche Cup car, it'll be my first time using that around Road America. So yeah, just see what happens, but I'm looking forward to it, and just pretty much going into next week and the rest of the season with the mindset of just trying to finish races and just picking up points. And if I get a podium finish at some point towards the end of the season, I'll be happy. But just the mindset I'm using is just pretty much taking out each race as it comes.
Well, it's a sensible mindset to take, and I think we'd love to see you achieve that target of a podium at some point in this season. But Ryan, just before I do let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast tonight?
First off, yourself, Paul, for putting on the broadcast as always, and always look forward to watching them back. Secondly, UKSR for putting on the series, and Roxanne Marshall for running the series as always. She does a great job. And then the Satellite Racing and their sponsors, Nemesis Lab, Ellis Engineering, Maradness. That's pretty much it. And lastly, congratulations to Philipp Hammer, who I believe him and his wife or girlfriend just had a baby.
We did a special occasion for Philipp with the arrival of a little one, and a great occasion for yourself with a great battling today, Ryan. And well, congratulations once again on the fantastic racing. And while the results may not truly reflect it, still good results to go with it at Circuit Zolder, and we look forward to plenty more at Road America in a week's time. But until then, thank you for your time this evening, and have a great night ahead.
Cheers, Paul.
Hearing it there from Ryan Walker, the gold class driver for Satellite Racing, enjoying the racing out there and taking a sensible and cool head to each and every round of racing. I mean, you couldn't ask better for that, and also really able to just talk about the racing as it came with regards to the feature race and also the heat race there, and even in qualifying, saying that things went right, albeit not quite able to achieve the lap he thought he'd be able to, that 30.2. But that goes to show you the growing confidence of Ryan since we've seen him on the grid about 4 seasons ago, in the fact once nipping at the heels of the gold class and looking to try and chase after top 10 finishes overall, now really setting his sights on top 5 qualifying positions and regular top 5 performances. And well, that's shining through every time as we try to find the words. Goodness me, he's left me speechless today, I can tell you that. And we saw from qualifying into the heat race, places gained, also really digging in at points versus James Parker, but knowing when to let it go. And the same with Tim Darracott. And in the feature race, well, that legendary launch off the line to move into the fight for the lead after turn at number 1, and by lap 2 leading the way, albeit then the inevitable presence of Philipp Hammer and many another gold driver who are going to try and bring Ryan down. And well, for the most part, the gold class driver able to fend off his rivals all the way until the penultimate lap. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, just having to clear my throat there. As my voice gives way, and my voice almost gave way when we saw him racing. But the key point being in the fact that Satellite Racing driver absolutely enjoying it. And whilst he lost out in the end, as my voice does go again, apologies. And as my voice does finally return there, and goodness me, what a night it has been. Well, for Ryan, a fantastic demonstration of his defensive skills, and a late error in what was the final lap of the race cost him dear, albeit still plenty of positives to take away from today. A couple of things to perhaps work on as well, but taking each and every result as it comes and setting himself a target of hitting the podium at some point this season. I think it's a fair target for Ryan Walker, and we look forward to him trying to achieve it. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we now come to the conclusion of our interviews. And once again, we'd like to say a big thank you to all 4 of our drivers who joined us for an interview today, whether it be David Bigadai in the silver class, the privateer driver there having the perfect result today, with what was a grand slam all the way through from pole position in qualifying to the wins in both races and leading every silver class lap. We'd also like to say a thank you to Corey Lazarus in the gold class, the blackout OPR driver, who didn't quite have it go his way in qualifying or the heat race, but put on an absolutely stellar recovery in what was the feature race in order to move from P21 all the way through to a P2 finish. Then going to Craig Shield, the silver class driver for ATEC Racing Cyan. A thank you to him for giving us a great set of performances in the silver class, enjoying the battling in the midfield. Unfortunate to miss out on the silver podium in the heat race. And then Ryan Walker, who we just heard from Satellite Racing, our gold class driver there with the defensive masterclass of today. It wasn't quite to be the result he wanted in the feature race, but enjoying the racing and with it the results that came in both races and also qualifying. And also a special shout out to him as he leads the company Ryan Walker Sim Racing Photography, and he is of course the official photographer with regards to the UK Sim Racing Porsche Cup and also the GT3 League. But congratulations to all 4 of our drivers, and we look forward to plenty more from them in a week's time. But until then, it is now time for us to wrap up, but not without reminding you, of course, to vote for your driver of the day in the respective chats. You can see the link once again in the YouTube or the Twitch chat, and do cast your vote before midnight Sunday the 14th of April, that's British Summertime BST or Universal Coordinate Time +1, as we'll be announcing the driver of the day from Circuit Zolder in what will be the qualifying session of rounds 4 and 5 at Road America. And well, do make sure you cast your vote, it means a lot to our drivers. But now it is time for us to wrap up. And well, with that, thank you very much for watching. And if you have enjoyed today and you'd like to know more about the UK Sim Racing community, perhaps you're absolutely salivating at the prospect of being on the grid after the racing you've seen today and taking your racing up to the next level, well, we definitely recommend you check out our official website, that being at uksimracing.co.uk. And as you saw it earlier, it's a very straightforward website. You can find out all the latest details regarding our ongoing and upcoming series and how to join the official UK Sim Racing Discord. But if you don't want to go to our website, perhaps you're more of a social media person, you can of course go to our Twitter. That's at twitter.com/UKSimRacing_, and there you can stay up to date with all the latest announcements regarding the ongoing and upcoming series at UK Sim Racing, as well as the trials and tribulations of the official UK Sim Racing esports teams. We'd like to take this moment to say a big thank you to our affiliates, who do include Swilly Amida Sim Racing Coaching, the creator of the Motor Racing Checklist. Swilly Amida Sim Racing Coaching can help take your sim racing driving to the next level. Whether you're looking to gain a 10th, improve your approach to the racing line, or develop your consistency, Swilly Amida has a coaching course to meet your needs. Plus, with Swilly being a multi-time champion of official iRacing series, including the 2021 PESCC, you know you're receiving coaching for the very best in the industry. We also have Race Anywhere, the provider of curated sim racing equipment aimed to only stock products that represent excellent value for the sim racing community. SimLab, leading manufacturer of high-quality sim racing-related hardware. As a proud partner of Mercedes-AMG Petronas Esports, SimLab aims to enhance virtual race experiences with uncompromising solutions that push the boundaries of esports and make SimLab the go-to brand for quality sim racing rigs. We also have Demon Tweaks, the provider of the most complete and innovative motorsport product range available worldwide. So no matter what your level of discipline, Demon Tweaks can help drive you to realise your motorsport ambitions. Amazon, the company striving to be the Earth's most customer-centric company, the Earth's best employer, and the Earth's safest place to work through the provision of concepts pioneered by Amazon, which do include but are not limited to one-click shopping, Amazon Web Services, and Amazon Alexa. And then lastly, our latest affiliate, Thomsen's Coaching. If you're in need of a bit of steer that is not quite over or under, or perhaps you're struggling to find that extra tenth, or looking to be braver on the brakes, well, if that does sound like you, then why not check out Thomsen's Coaching? Run by professional esports sim racer and Apex Racing Academy driver Patrik Thomsen, Thomsen's Coaching aims to provide some of the finest coaching from one of the very best drivers in the industry. If you're worried about price, fear not, for Thomsen's Coaching is quality coaching made affordable, meaning that no matter what your budget, there shall be the right level of coaching available just for you. Sounds interesting? Then why not join Thomsen's Coaching Discord today to get started? That again, Thomsen Coaching, and remember, quality coaching made affordable just for you. With that, ladies and gents, we now turn our attentions to next time, and we're in a week's time on Thursday the 18th of April 2024. It's rounds 4 and 5 at Road America. We return to the United States of America for our second week of racing the country out of the fray, and well, we head to the state of Wisconsin for the Countryside Classic Circuit. And as our drivers roll their way round, it's going to be the first true low downforce circuit our drivers will be racing on. The rear wings are going to be dropped, and with that, that means it's all going to be about the drag races on the straights and being brave under braking. But who will be roaring high at Road America? Tune in a week's time to find out, and that and plenty more. But until then, we've been UKSimRacing. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, but most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night.